Years ago, Saga and his party members, Benwood, Mamar, and Maniela, successfully sealed the gate to the Achromatic Darkness dungeon. Still, they knew it was only a matter of time before the evil behind those doors would be unleashed, and unless the Demon King is defeated, their world would eventually be swallowed up by the reverse dungeon Tenebrae. Saga compares it to his nephew's homeland but tells them not to be discouraged, reassuring them that someday, someone would finish what they couldn't and save the world. He is hopeful that a new hero will appear. Fast forward to the present. Juke, an alchemist, casts a physical enchantment spell on his teammates to help them as they're fighting against a monster. He also uses the Scroll of Light to seal while Camilla and Jamie perform a magic incantation to assist Simon and Barry, who are playing the offense. Eventually, they defeat the monster. This livestream is broadcast to the whole kingdom, and Gato and Sho, the show hosts, praise the A-rank team, Thunderpike, for their incredible strength and god-tier teamwork. The people are impressed and begin cheering for Thunderpike, and some others are motivated to do better. Meanwhile, Juke announces his exit from Thunderpike to his party members. His reason is pretty valid. The other members treat him like crap and usually give him the smallest share of the commission. Despite his pointing this out to them over and over, he tells them that at this rate he could end up in debt, but the Thunderpike party, also known as the Nonchalant Group, doesn't really care about his rants. Simeon, the group leader, tells him that, despite belonging to a party, they're still individuals, and compensation is going to be distributed based on individual contributions. Bottom line of what Bro is trying to say is that Juke is basically a furniture in their party. Barry adds that Juke doesn't even fight and just burns through all their items, and he should be grateful that they even give him a cut. It doesn't end there. Jamie, the witch and magic user, comments that Juke is only useful when they're prepping for their streams. Finally, Camilla the priestess tells him that if he wants a reasonable pay, he needs to make a reasonable contribution. Juke reminds her that she receives more of his support than anyone else, but she pretends not to understand what he is saying. As Juke tries to explain, Simeon interrupts him, asking what he plans to do once he leaves them, saying he will not be able to join another party. He reminds Juke that his B-rank butt is only in their A-rank party because Simeon himself, who is Juke's childhood friend, decided to do him a favor. Juke swallows all their disses and asks if they are implying that they will do just fine without him. Simeon responds affirmatively that no one will suffer from the absence of a small fry B-rank player. Juke thanks them for the last 5 years but immediately realizes he should be the one thanked since he has been taking care of them all this time. They all mock him, saying that even if he comes back crying to be let back in, there is no place for him with them anymore. The next morning, Juke visits the Adventurers Guild to sign up for new work. The receptionist, Mamar, is confused and asks about Thunderpike. Juke tells her he left the party yesterday. Mamar is barely surprised and hands him a new form to fill out. After he completes it and hands it back, she promises to put it up. While they talk, a redhead runs up to Juke, hugging him tightly in her armor and nearly squeezing the life out of him. After she releases him, Juke recognizes her as one of his former students, Marina, now a sword mage. Marina thanks him for all the guidance he provided during her training. Juke asks about Rain and Silk, his other students, and Marina informs him that they are both doing great. She asks what Juke is doing there, and he tells her. Immediately, she realizes that Juke is on the market. She snatches his form from Mamar and suggests that he join their party. Next, Juke meets with the other party members. Silk is quite shocked that their former tutor wants to join them. Marina asks the others if it is okay for Juke to join their party, and they both agree without hesitation. However, Silk questions him further, asking if he is sure about this, considering they are a D-rank party just starting out, and as a B-rank adventurer, he might not gain much from their missions. That shouldn't be a problem for Juke since Bro has been surviving on pocket change. Juke tells her that it's not a problem and that it suits him better. When he notices their confusion, he explains that A-rank parties take on really high-level quests and dungeons, and due to the cost of the items he often uses, he was constantly in debt. He believes that D-rank quests would offer a better balance between item costs and commissions. After understanding his POV, the trio warmly welcomes him to their group, and Juke has never felt more loved. After that is settled, the girls inform Juke that they have accepted a quest to collect magic ore from an abandoned mine dungeon, so they head there. They arrive outside the dungeon, and on their little walk to the entrance of the dungeon, Juke shares some information he knows about the 6th floor of the dungeon, where they can mine magic iron ores. Silk tells him they wouldn't want to encounter the 5th floor boss while mining, hoping there's a way to mine the ore before having to face it. Juke suggests that they start from the 4th floor instead. They begin raiding the dungeon, and Juke is impressed that the girls are acting just as he taught them, but he decides to take the lead anyway. Marina is confused because she knows that Juke is a red mage, but the rules state that if there is no scout or thief in a party, the strongest sword mage is to take the lead, and she is the only sword mage. Juke understands but tells her that he has a detecting lantern to help them spot traps. I mean, that's quite a sloppy excuse because he can just give her the lantern. Regardless, the girls are impressed with the artifact, and Juke assures them that with the lantern, they can navigate through the dungeon like experienced thieves. Silk worries that the special oil used to power the lantern must be expensive, but Juke reassures her that he made the oil himself through alchemy. He instructs Marina to take the rear and be ready for any ambushes. As they continue their journey, Juke recalls that was the first dungeon Thunderpike went into too. Almost immediately, Juke senses something and halts the entire party. He tells them to prepare for a fight and leads them deeper into the dungeon, where they encounter some low-budget King Kong monsters monsters. The girls spring into action and Juke uses his alchemy skills to assist them, just as he had done with his previous party. He weakens the monsters so that Marina can easily finish them off. Everyone is shocked. Marina knows she couldn't have pulled that off by herself, and Juke brags a little, admitting that he casts 3 types of physical enchants on her. Rain, a magic user, is shocked that Juke can cast 3 spells simultaneously without even an incantation. Seeing that all the credit is going to him, Juke clarifies that Marina pretty much did the whole thing, pointing out that she has improved. It's giving, I want to be in the spotlight, but not for too long. They continue moving, avoiding every trap. Afterward, Juke asks them about their dungeon routine. Marina explains that they take breaks on each floor to report their losses, which they learned from Juke. He then suggests they rest for a bit before continuing. They also report their losses, and everyone is good. When they reach the second floor, a monster gives them a jump scare by suddenly appearing and attacking, but Juke defends. They quickly realize that the floor is filled with dead miners and swing into action. Rain begins her incantation while Juke casts a protection spell over the party, preventing the monsters from approaching them. This gives them the upper hand, and as soon as Rain finishes her spell, it takes out the monsters. Noticing that she is exhausted from using so much mana, and as everyone praises her, Juke refreshes her mana. Rain is shocked that Juke can use refresh mana, as it's a big deal and a very rare ability typically limited to red mages. She adds that just being able to use the spell can get someone into A-rank parties. Someone please tell that to Simeon's cocky behind. But as usual, Juke downplays it, making it seem like it's not a big deal, and pats Rain on the head for a job well done. As they continue, they realize that Juke has a lot more skills up his sleeve. Bro is casually pouring holy water that is quite expensive to cover up the undead's footsteps and help them escape being pursued by more. Oh, but don't worry, cause he made this very expensive holy water by himself. Bro is an alchemist and a self-made priest on the side. They decide to take a break, and Juke whips up some mouth-watering meal for them. Multi-talent is afraid of this dude. The girls are impressed. It's like watching a circus performance. Rain, as an artifact freak, is more impressed by all the artifacts that Juke owns. Food is served, and as the girls enjoy their meal, Juke envelopes the food in mana to help strengthen them for the work ahead. After eating, they finally arrive at the 4th floor, where they are confronted by a monster. Juke casts a spell to slow it down, allowing Marina to use her magic blade and finish it off. He refreshes her mana, and they begin mining. After gathering a lot, the girls realize that they would need a few more. Knowing they have no other choice, Juke suggests they face the 5th floor boss and head to the 6th floor. The girls are reluctant. They know how tough the floor boss is. However, Juke reassures them that he will take on the boss himself, as a way to prove that he can be useful to them. Silk tells them that they have already seen how incredible he is, and the others agree. They still head to the 5th floor anyway. Before they enter, Juke brings out a camera to record the whole thing going down. It's his little tradition to record all his floor boss battles. Marina suggests they live stream instead, saying it'll be fun. Juke agrees. He then asks for their party name, but the girls haven't decided on one yet and have not officially registered as a party. Marina suggests Clover, since there are 4 of them, and the others agree. Juke says they should register the name once they return to the guild. However, Juke is worried that their first stream will be about him, but since the girls are okay with it, he proceeds to cast various spells, including a protection spell over himself, before instructing Camerat to begin streaming. Juke opens the doors, waking the floor boss, the steel crab, and walks in confidently. The steel crab attacks, and the girls fear that the battle will end before it even begins, but Juke manages to evade its strike. He then casts 5 powerful spells on the crab at once before using a gravity spell to finish it off. The fight wraps up almost as quickly as it started, and Juke doesn't even take the time to aura farm. He immediately ends the broadcast. As soon as he turns around, Marina envelops him in a tight hug, while Rain can hardly comprehend how overpowered Juke is. Afterward, Juke places the monster's corpse into his magic bag to take back to the guild, knowing it will fetch a good price. A chest box appears and they open it to find a large amount of ores, more than enough for what they need, successfully completing their first quest. The live stream where Juke defeats the dungeon boss goes viral, and people are surprised by his abilities. On their way back, Clover discusses the parts of their adventure that each of them found interesting. Juke then asks if it isn't awkward to have their former teacher in their party, but the girls assure him that he is just overthinking it. Because of that, Silk suggests they make him their party leader. Juke is confused by this, but Silk takes his hand and tells him that he is their teacher, so it's only right that he becomes the party leader, adding that the spirits had guided him to them. Juke tries to refuse, but the other girls agree with Silk, so he has no choice but to accept. He sees this as an opportunity to keep the girls safe from danger. However, he tells them that if he is not a good leader, they should let him know. Meanwhile, the Thunderpike party is on their quest, but they're struggling. They have a new member, but he is pretty much useless like the rest of them. At one point, a beast bites Jamie, but Simon rescues her and requests that Camila perform healing magic. However, Camila, acting like a wimp, hides away and says she is out of mana. Seeing that they have been outnumbered, Simon instructs the team to fall back. Jamie is badly injured, and Simon tries to stop her bleeding. He questions whether Camila can use healing magic yet, but she can't. When he asks her for mana potions, she responds that Juke always provided them for her. He also asks Barry for healing potions, but that was also Juke's job. Their new member, Cork, has one but is reluctant to hand it over, reminding Simon that when he joined, Simon told him that every member is responsible for their own supplies. Eventually, Cork hands it over while Camila tries to use her magic. At the inn, Clover is having a nice time. Juke shows them the reward they received from the quest and asks how they manage their finances. Silk is the only one who keeps the money. Juke finds this strange, but they explain that they plan on getting a base for their operations, and that's what they're saving up for. Juke is impressed and offers to hand in his own share. Downstairs, Thunderpike is disappointed about their earlier failure. Simon points out that they have never had an issue like that since their formation. He is grateful they were able to save Jamie but blames everything on Cork, calling him selfish. The other members join in blaming him, but Cork is not like Juke, who puts up with crap. He points out their mistakes to them, but they still put all the blame on him, even calling him shameless for trying to hold them accountable. This causes Cork to lose it. He tells them he didn't realize Thunderpike was full of losers who didn't understand their own skill levels, then quits. Juke overhears the commotion and turns to see Cork leaving the group. He is a bit concerned. Marina asks what they will do the following day, and Silk tells her that they should do as Juke suggested. For every day they have a quest, they will take 2 days off. Marina then asks Juke about his plans for their free day, and he tells her he'll go to the market to stock up on supplies so he can make a bunch of stuff. He tells them to meet back at the Adventurers Guild on the 3rd day to decide on their next job. Their livestream begins playing, and it has a lot of views. Gato and Sho also comment nice things about it, and Clover is now in the spotlight, especially Juke. The Thunderpike party is watching as well, but they are not pleased. Barry comments that Juke is getting cocky, and Simon adds that joining a low-ranked party must be making him think he is something that he isn't. Meanwhile, the girls praise Juke, and he is almost moved to tears. They make a toast and continue enjoying their time, unaware that a creepy dude is watching them, feeling jealous that Juke is with the girls. Juke has too many haters. At this point, he might even outdo Griffith. 3 days later, Juke goes to the guild to search for jobs that would be suitable for Clover, but also offer high rewards. Mamar finds him looking confused and goes to help. Despite his request being a little greedy, Juke tells her that he is confident the girls can handle a B-rank quest with their skill levels. Mamar suggests a C-rank quest that, on the surface, seems like a D-rank quest, but Juke senses there is more to it, as something seems off. Mamar confirms this, mentioning that a large magic beast resides in the area. Juke gives this a thought. He knows that while the quest is dangerous, the reward could be pretty good. His thoughts are interrupted by Marina's loud, cheerful greeting as the girls walk into the guild. He starts to tell Marina about the quest, but she immediately agrees without letting him finish. Mamar quickly prints out the quest form to process it. Juke then explains the downsides of the quest to the girls, and they are shocked. However, Silk insists that they will go ahead with it, confident that they will be fine since Juke is with them. Juke tells them to prepare, as they'll be leaving in an hour. As soon as the girls go, Mamar reappears with the acceptance receipt and wishes Juke luck. He suspects that Mamar wanted them to accept this quest, as she was very quick with everything. Mamar confesses that their first livestream had a lot of views, and people want to see more. Juke is worried he might have drawn the wrong kind of attention to them, but he promises to stream the quest so the girls can be in the spotlight too. While they continue discussing, the creepy guy watches Juke from a distance, filled with anger. As Juke leaves the guild, the strange man follows him, but Juke can sense his presence since the man's tailing work is quite sloppy. He figures that the man is not much of a threat, and when he turns a corner, he picks up his pace and hides nearby, only for the strange dude Bezio to suddenly show up behind him. Juke is unbothered and asks what Bezio wants. Bezio responds that Juke should leave Clover. Juke replies that he can't do that, as he just joined the party 3 days ago. He even tells Bezio that he is Clover's leader. This pisses Bezio off so bad that he draws his weapon, and Juke silently casts a snare spell on him. Bezio starts ranting about how he should be the one in their party since he showed interest first countless times. Bezio warns Juke to leave the party if he doesn't want to get hurt. However, Juke, being the chill guy that he is, calmly refuses. As he turns to walk away, Bezio attempts to attack him but slips and falls, passing out. Juke feels relieved that he decided to cast that spell when he did. Clover begins their journey, and along the way they tell Juke about Bezio, who truly offered to join their team countless times and wouldn't take no for an answer. Marina adds that Bezio is mid, while Rain checks on Juke, who reassures her that he is fine. Silk apologizes for the trouble, saying it's their fault, but Juke doesn't make a big deal out of it and promises to report Bezio when they return. The girls feel relieved, and Juke offers them candy to cheer them up. After that, they review their quest. Juke reminds the girls that their objective is to fetch 3 stones from the Yeoman waterfall, which is easy, but the only problem is the magic beast. Since the girls had mentioned visiting the waterfall before, Juke asks if they encountered any monsters, but they didn't. Juke knows the magic beast was already present at that time since the girls didn't see any wild beasts. He informs them that once they enter the forest, he will release Camerat and start recording. He adds that even if they fail, he has to record it. Rain questions why he would livestream if they're not sure of winning, and Juke explains that he wants to ensure help can come to them if they're in danger. He also mentions that if they defeat the beast, the stream can serve as proof. The girls are excited that Clover will finally have their streaming debut and start worrying about their appearances. Juke finds this cute, especially Silk, but the others can tell what he is thinking and tease him for it while he tries defending himself. In the course of their conversation, Juke realizes that Rain is his age despite her small stature. They arrive at the lake, and Juke tells the girls to be careful from this point onward, adding that they should withdraw immediately if things get dicey. He activates the livestream mode with Camerat, and they head into the forest. Marina takes the lead while Juke remains at the rear. This formation is because there aren't traps in the forest and beasts are likely to attack from behind. The girls are concerned about putting him in danger, but he assures them that he is wearing armor he got from a dungeon, the warlock attire, so he won't be easily unalived. Since Rain knows about it, she explains the benefit of the attire to the others. As they arrive at the Yeoman waterfall, the trees rustle, and Juke tells the girls to halt before quickly asking Kamrat to go into livestream mode. The magic beast appears, looking scary and all. It's a high-ranking monster. Juke knows that Clover is not strong enough to take on that kind of beast and instructs them to fall back. He tells Silk to lead the others away to safety while he fights off the monster, but the girls refuse to abandon him and take their positions. Even when Juke tries to persuade them that the beast is dangerous, they refuse to ditch him, so he has no choice but to let them all fight as a team. He casts a physical enchant spell on them, while Rain begins to chant incantations. Marina attacks, but the beast easily knocks her away. Juke immediately casts a series of spells at it, but they have little effect. As Marina gets back on her feet, Juke asks her to buy him some time as he starts his summoning spell. While he works on that, Silk and Marina fight against the beast. Once Juke finishes, he tells Marina to fall back and then casts a grade 5 magic spell, Prismatic Missile, at the creature. The beast is weakened, and Rain casts a Thunderbolt spell to finish it off, but the creature still stands. Juke then instructs Marina to cut off its head, and as he enhances her abilities, Marina uses her magic blade to deliver the final blow. The atmosphere becomes brighter, and the magic beast's head falls into the water. Everyone is relieved that they were able to end it, and Juke thanks his viewers as Kamrat ends the stream. Back in the city, everyone is amazed by how good Clover is, while Simon watches in annoyance. Juke's vision becomes blurry from exhaustion, having lost a lot of mana, but he feels proud of the girls for their performance in such a high-level quest. He tells them they did a good job, though they should expect a lecture from him later. The girls, in turn, say they also have to lecture him for his reckless behavior during battle. It's 3 against 1, so UK gives up, but he tells them they only won by pure luck, which earns him a mean stare from the girls, and he apologizes. They find a lake, and since the girls would like to have a bath, Juke leaves to go prepare their tent. Setting up their camp brings back memories of when he was their mentor 6 months ago. After a long day of adventuring, they finally set up their camp, and Rain helped provide water and fire for cooking. Back then, Juke had always believed that they might overtake Thunderpike soon enough. Never had he imagined that he would end up in the same party as the girls. Several days later, Clover goes to meet the guildmaster at his request. The girls feel nervous, wondering why the guildmaster wants to see them. Juke explains that the quest they completed was supposed to be a B-rank quest, but it was assigned to their D-rank party. He adds that they will likely be praised for it, but the guildmaster might also have a lot of other things to say. Just then, Benwood, the guildmaster of the Finnish Adventurers Guild, enters with Mamar. The girls immediately stand, and Juke reluctantly joins them. Benwood asks Juke to explain what happened in detail, but Juke replies that he has already submitted a report. They go back and forth arguing, and Juke tells Benwood to stop intimidating the girls. He adds that if Benwood wanted to talk to him, he could have just requested for him alone. The girls are shocked by how Juke is speaking to Benwood, and Silk has to remind him that he is talking to the guildmaster. Benwood's mean expression softens, and he pats Juke's shoulder roughly, but Juke brushes his hand away, commenting that Benwood is as annoying as ever and that his behavior is crude. The girls stare in disbelief, probably thinking this would be their last day as adventurers, thanks to Juke's selective boldness. Benwood takes his seat, and Clover does too. He then genuinely asks what Juke thinks about the situation, to which Juke responds that it may be an overflow and that it should be investigated immediately. Benwood gives Mamar the go-ahead nod, and she leaves to go issue an emergency investigation quest. Marina asks what an overflow means, and Juke explains that it occurs when a trigger causes monsters to overflow from dungeons. Benwood adds that monsters' lives are tied to the mana within dungeons, but sometimes they are able to leave the dungeon. This is also evidence of a stampede. Benwood tells Clover that the guild will handle the investigation and apologizes for putting them in danger. The girls nervously assure him that they are fine thanks to Juke. Benwood then says that the stream proved to him that the girls can take care of themselves, and because of that he promotes them to rank C. Juke is shocked and asks to confirm this isn't just some prank, as he expected there would be an issue. Benwood informs him that the decision came from the guild branch and promotes Juke to rank A as well, because the spell, Prismatic Missile, is a new spell that no one knows. He tells Juke that he has made sure everyone is aware that Juke defeated the monster using that spell. Benwood congratulates him on his new rank status and hands him a form to fill out. The girls are super excited for him, and they celebrate with drinks. Juke also congratulates them on their promotion to rank C. After showing them the reward from the quest, Silk counts it and confirms they have more than enough to secure a place of their own. There's also a letter from Benwood offering an apology to Juke and including a platinum coin as well. Juke adds this to their earnings. Everyone is excited that they can finally get a base, and Silk thanks Juke for his help. Juke reminds them that he is their leader and will do everything he can to support them. Much later, while they are still drinking, Rain questions Juke about his dream. She tells him that since they have been able to reach their own goal, they would like to know his dream so they can set it as their next goal. Though the question is sudden, Juke reveals that his dream is to reach the deepest floor of the dungeon called Achromatic Darkness. His words hit like a bombshell, causing the girls to spill their drinks. The Achromatic Darkness is the only dungeon confirmed to contain the Abyss Gate, a fixed artifact known as the gateway to the underworld. Rain asks if he wants to go through the Abyss Gate, but Juke just wants to see the edge edge of the world with his own eyes. He tells them that his uncle, whom he deeply respects a lot, once took on the achromatic darkness, but he wasn't able to conquer the dungeon in the end. This story has been a motivation for Juke since childhood, making him eager to try it. The girls are supportive, and Marina says they should do it soon and live stream it. Juke explains that it's not that simple. They would need government permission to enter the dungeon, and it would require at least an A-rank party to do so. Nevertheless, the girls decide to add it to their next goal, promising to work hard to make his dream a reality. They are so excited as if it's their own dream, so Juke agrees, and they drink to it. Meanwhile, Gato and Sho broadcast Clover's battle against a dungeon monster. They're on another level, and each of them knows exactly what to do without being told. They finally defeat the monster, and as always, Juke thanks his viewers. Meanwhile, Thunderpike is at the inn when the battle is being aired. Simon wonders how Juke, who, according to him, is so boring in every way except his looks, suddenly gains so much popularity. It's not clocking to them that Juke is standing on business. Camila adds that the quality of viewers has declined for people to enjoy such mid-stuff. Simon informs them that Juke was just promoted to A rank, which must be the reason for his cockiness. That aside, he genuinely feels worried about their group, saying that Thunderpike has been screwing up constantly, and he believes it's due to poor quality new members who don't even stick around for long. Barry calls them useless adventurers who lack drive, guts, and patience. To these losers, everyone is the problem but them. Almost immediately, Simon notices that Jamie is missing and asks about her. He is told that Jamie said she wasn't in the mood for a drink. This triggers Simon to complain about her recent behavior, like her frequent absences and how she slows them down even during quests, ultimately calling her selfish. Meanwhile, Jamie is in her room, watching Clover's livestream, her eyes filled with regret. Barry then suggests asking Juke to return, as he was the only one who managed to keep up with them. Camila supports this idea, saying that when Juke was with them, they didn't fail quests continually. Simon can't help but admit that Juke was pretty helpful to them. Since money was the issue, Barry suggests they increase Juke's cut a little by reducing Jamie's share, since she has become useless. As Clover is returning from their quest, they decide to report to the guild. Marina wonders if Mamar would still be there, and when the others question why, she mentions Juke's close relationship with Mamar. Juke explains that he has known her ever since he became an adventurer, and despite her youthful appearance, she is the most senior employee at the guild. He adds that any adventurer from their parents' generation can tell stories about Mamar the Grey Hermit. However, the other girls can sense that Marina asked out of jealousy, which she strongly denies. Upon arriving at the guild, they meet Simon outside. Juke tells the girls to go inside and see Mamar, and promises to be with them soon. After the girls leave, Juke asks Simon what he wants. Simon requests that Juke join him for a drink. Juke declines, saying he just returned from a dungeon and is tired. Simon holds him back, asking him to return to Thunderpike. The girls are eavesdropping on their conversation from the other side. Simon reminds Juke of his childhood dream, saying that only Thunderpike, an A-rank party, can help him achieve it. As Simon continues talking and moving closer, Juke slaps his hand away and repeats that he is not interested. Simon is shocked and begins emotionally blackmailing Juke, blaming all of Thunderpike's recent failures on him and implying that he should feel guilty about leaving. Juke reminds him that he had claimed they wouldn't suffer without him. At this point, other adventurers gather to watch the confrontation between the two ex-party members. Simon tells Juke to take responsibility for his actions, but Juke stresses that he has no intention of returning to Thunderpike. As Juke tries to leave, Simon calls out, warning him not to let those rookie girls deceive him, insisting that they are using him. Juke responds by pointing out that it was Thunderpike who was using him, and then he walks away. Simon is visibly upset, while Bessio watches him from the shadows. Juke enters to find the girls looking at him with concern. They ask who Simon is, and when Juke tells them, Marina quickly hugs him, pleading with him not to leave them. Juke reassures them that he won't, after which they all go to meet Mamar. The next day, Juke informs the girls that Earthy's, a long-standing equipment workshop, has specifically chosen them to promote their latest armor. The girls are excited as the brand is quite famous. Silk then asks why they were chosen, and Juke explains that it's because of the concept they're going for. He tells them that they will need to wear the armor to conquer a dungeon, and they will use the video for promotion. The girls accept the quest also because they get to keep the armor they'll be using. With that, their next quest is set. Juke waits for the girls outside the Ion Ruins dungeon in Qualto. When they arrive, he is stunned by their new outfits and compliments them, but for some reason, Rain seems upset by his compliment. She tries to show off her new bow, but Juke is quite ignorant and keeps talking. After all the yapping, they finally decide to head into the dungeon and begin some real work. Juke explains the layout of the dungeon to the girls, also telling them the quest objective, to reach the abandoned city dungeon, which is part of the Ion Ruins dungeon. When they reach an atrium, Juke tells them where the stairways they can use to descend are located. Marina asks why they can't simply drop down using a rope, as it would be easier. Juke then shows them what would happen if they jump down. Seeing that it isn't safe, they all decide to use a stairway. Juke eventually notices Rain's foul mood and asks her what is wrong. Rain doesn't say anything, but with the help of the other girls, he figures out what the issue is and compliments her bow. Rain immediately hugs him in embarrassment, and she also feels better. They continue on their quest, and with Juke's lamp, they spot a trap and halt. Juke activates the trap, and the girls realize that without the lamp, they would have been cooked. Once it is safe, Juke leads the girls through the trap. Thankfully, they all have small bodies and can fit through, unlike you. Juke tells them that the stairway is just up ahead, and when they get there, they can take a little break and eat. complete. As they move further along, they encounter some low-budget hulks that look like they stopped hulking out at 53%. Seeing these creatures trigger Silk and she draws her weapon, I'd be traumatized too. But the reason for this is that orcs and elves have generational beef. Juke is aware of this and asks her to remain calm. He assesses the orcs and figures that they are C-rank monsters, reminding the girls to stay alert and not underestimate them. He instructs them on what to do and immediately casts a physical enchant spell on the party. Rain recites her incantation, producing a fireball and burning the orcs. Juke uses his scroll to conjure rocks and attacks them, while Silk manages to take one down with her arrow and Marina charges at the others. Juke casts more spells on the orcs to make it easier for Marina, who uses her magic blade to finish them off. With the size of these things, you'd think they would put up a good fight, but they're just a bunch of wimps. Juke then tries to cheer up Silk, knowing that seeing the orcs really affected her. He manages to make her laugh, and just then, Marina runs back with a weird scroll she found among the orcs. Juke examines it and recognizes it as an artifact that can uncover hidden abilities. He decides to repair it and gift it to one of them, explaining that the scroll can help improve its user's talent. While they're still talking, a treasure chest appears. Clover finds a place to rest for a while they allow Camerot to recharge. They also found a magic box in the chest, which Juke gives to Rain, who seems really excited about it. Juke also mentions that the next time they find a magic bag, Silk should use it since it's handy for storing arrows. Before they continue on their quest, they all report their gains and losses. On the third floor, Juke reminds the girls to stay alert as they don't know where the next monster might pop up from. Silk asks if there are no floor bosses, and Juke responds that there used to be one called Shadow Stalkers, but there have been no signs of them in the past 10 years. As they reach the fourth floor, Juke continues to describe what the Shadow Stalker looks like. Marina, who is at the rear, suddenly stops, her attention drawn to something. She asks Juke if what she is seeing is a Shadow Stalker. The whole team looks up only to find a Shadow Stalker stalking them from the shadows. Juke is shocked but instructs Camerot to make sure to get a shot of it. He feels a bit relieved knowing that the barrier above them cannot be crossed. As if on cue, the Shadow Stalker is like, "Watch this," and jumps down, breaking through the barrier to their surprise and terror. Juke immediately uses his scroll of multi-enchants to cast a barrier on the girls, but the Shadow Stalker attacks, focusing on Marina and scattering her barrier. Rain quickly rushes to check on her and uses her magic to heal her. Juke attacks the shadow, and once again, its attack breaks Juke's barrier. But Juke has more tricks up his sleeve. He uses Blink Shadow to disappear, reappearing behind the Shadow Stalker. Juke casts more spells and prepares to attack, but it gives a creepy smile and curses Juke using dark magic. As Juke falls, he wishes he could tell the others to run, but he can't. Silk takes a defensive stance, now it's up to her and Rain. Rain casts a holy shield over them while Silk attacks the Shadow Stalker, who swiftly dodges her dryads. Rain tries to revive Juke, but he is passed out cold. Silk gets distracted and the shadow hurts her, but Marina is quick to step in. Rain also casts a spell to assist Marina, but despite their efforts, he cannot land a blow on the enemy. Rain decides to use a wide-range magic spell, but the shadow dodges and eventually disappears. It reappears and injures both Marina and Rain. The shadow then utters an incantation, opening various portals that release magical energy to attack the girls. However, Juke quickly intervenes, blocking the spell with his scroll of light shield. The girls are relieved to see that he is okay. It turns out Juke had a double layer of protection. Furious at the shadow for harming his teammates, Juke casts a spell called 1000 Snares. I'm starting to think this dude was behind the 100 million flaming arrows in Alice in Borderland. Because what? As the Shadow Stalker struggles to move, Juke unleashes a series of powerful spells while also healing his teammates. Silk then binds the shadow with her dryads, and Rain finishes it off with her magic. Once everything calms down, Marina hugs Juke, nearly squeezing the life out of him. When she finally lets go, she apologizes, but Juke brushes it off, praising her for spotting the Shadow Stalker before it was too late. He then asks Juke for an analysis of the Shadow Stalker. Juke informs him that it was undead but had a disordered mind, adding that it shouldn't exist. He had suspected this since it managed to pass between two floors. Just like their other quests, this too was an overflow. Marina suggests they should inform everyone about this through a live stream, but Juke insists they continue with their quest. Since they are wearing armor that hasn't been made public yet, he cannot stream without the client's consent and can only live stream as a last resort. Although Marina is still worried, Juke reassures her that they will report it to the Adventurers Guild in the city of Qualto once the quest is complete. Rain then heals Juke and scolds him for always trying to shoulder responsibilities alone. After they recount their losses, Juke replenishes Rain's mana, and with that, they resume their mission. Eventually, they reach the deepest part of the Aein ruins and touch the next dungeon gate to complete their quest. The girls wait for Juke outside the Qualto Adventurers Guild while he goes to make a report on the existence of the Shadow Stalker. When he returns, they decide to go sightseeing the next day. The girls excitedly share the different places they would like to visit. Juke tells them they will come up with a plan to see all those places, but first, he suggests they have dinner at a good place he knows. The girls' quest video is used for the advert. Meanwhile, Thunderpike is surviving on crusty snacks in the dungeon, and Barry mentions that when Juke was with them, they got to eat good meals from his weird pot. Simon tells him it doesn't really help anyone to keep complaining about that and asks about their portions and mana. But Barry didn't bring any mana and questions why any of them should when they have Camila. Sis advises them not to depend on her, saying mana is quite expensive. Barry points out that she never had issues with mana in the past, and once again, it was thanks to Juke. Simon tells them to get ready to fight and asks Jamie to prepare for the stream quickly, but she needs more time. This causes Barry to basically call her useless as she can barely use magic. She is Usopp level weak, only that she doesn't lie about it. Camila adds that if Jamie could use healing magic, it would make things easier for them. Jamie ignores their rude comments and continues working until she finally finishes. They then leave to begin their quest, only to return to the guild with news of their failure. Mamar doesn't seem surprised and tells them that there is a chance they will get demoted to a lower adventurer rank if their scores continue to drop. She suggests that Simon consider taking on easier quests and tries recommending C-rank quests, but Simon refuses. His pride won't let him. He blames their failures on Mamar, saying she hasn't given them new members, and also, their quest this time was pretty difficult, not what they were expecting. This news is quite upsetting for Thunderpike, and as they sit down to have a drink, Simon gives it a thought and tells Barry that high-ranked quests might be too much for them, given that they only have 4 members. Camila yells at Simon to recruit a new member already, insisting that it's his responsibility as their leader. However, Barry, who already seems drunk, suggests again that they should bring Juke back, reminding Simon that they were childhood friends and Juke was basically his minion, so it should be easy. Simon realizes they would need something to convince Juke, and it clicks that they can use the achromatic dungeon as bait. He proposes they take on the dungeon, surprising everyone. He tells them that it's Juke's dream and he's more likely to join them if he knows Thunderpike is going into the dungeon. They decide to team up with some other parties, and Simon adds that pretending to want to take on the dungeon would be enough, and they don't have to take it seriously since it's just bait. The others support the idea, but Jamie, seated at another table, knows it's a bad idea. Meanwhile, on their way to buy a house, Juke informs his party members that the Aeon dungeon is closed for investigation following their reports of sighting a shadow stalker. People recognize the girls from the advertisement and make nice comments about them, but some men pass by Rain and make unkind remarks, affecting her mood. Juke notices and tells her not to mind people's comments as they are bound to be rude. They eventually meet their real estate agent Monday, who takes them to see the first property. Juke feels that a one-story house isn't suitable for girls-only residents, as it would be an easy target for burglary and raids. Monday then takes them to see another house. The house is pretty decent and has a lot of good features. The girls prefer this to the previous house, but Juke asks Monday to show them another option, to which he gladly agrees. On their way to the next property, Juke realizes that the environment is familiar and his mood suddenly drops. Rain notices this and asks what is wrong. Juke tells her Thunderpike's base is located there. The other girls overhear this and tell Monday that they are not interested in seeing the next property. Juke is confused and Silk explains that they wouldn't want to be neighbors with Thunderpike. Ultimately, they agree to take the previous house. Once they move in all their belongings, Juke asks if they have decided which rooms to take, and they inform him they were just about to ask him which room he would like. Juke is puzzled. He hadn't planned on living in the same house with them. The girls remind him that it's their party's base, and he had previously said it was dangerous for a household to consist of only women. Juke is skeptical about this since he is a guy after all. Sanji would readily switch places with him. Eventually, Juke agrees, but he tells the girls to always keep their door locked and to have it at the back of their mind that he is a guy. They agree, and they continue moving in. Afterward, dinner is served, and Juke presents the girls with a tablet he bought as a gift for moving in. The girls are grateful, and they toast to it. Just then, an announcement about Thunderpike and 2 other parties taking on the achromatic darkness is aired. The girls are worried that Juke might consider returning to Thunderpike because of this, but he reassures them that he isn't going anywhere. He tells them that he plans on seeing the Abyss Gate with them alone. Almost immediately, a mailbird finds its way to Juke, and it's from the guild. He and Rain head to the guild, where Mamar informs them about a request for Juke. She hands him a request to temporarily join a party and investigate the achromatic darkness dungeon, and the request is from, yes, you guessed right, Thunderpike. These peeps just won't let Juke be. It's like that one ex who keeps trying to get back together after treating you like crap. Juke is obviously not interested and tells Mamar to inform them that he declines. On the way back, Juke stops to get some groceries, only to see Simon angrily approaching them. Once he gets to Juke, he angrily demands to know why he declined when it's achromatic darkness, Juke's dream. Simon's outburst scares Rain, causing her to hide behind Juke. Juke touches his shoulder and calmly tells Simon that he is proud of his former party for taking on the toughest dungeon in the kingdom and wishes them luck. Simon informs him that they had already begun making plans with the assumption that Juke would join them. However, Juke tells him once more that he isn't interested. Simon insists, which frustrates Juke, causing him to raise his voice and point out that it is a major breach of etiquette to send an invitation to someone who is already in an active party. Simon crashes out, reminding Juke that he was the one who left them and that he has caused them a lot of trouble. He adds that he decided to tackle the achromatic darkness dungeon because of Juke. Is this rage bait? Cause it's working. Juke then gives him a piece of his mind, pointing out how Simon used him and betrayed him, and now he's acting like they're buddies. Juke gets so worked up that Rain gently holds his hand to calm him down, which helps. Changing his tone, Simon speaks softly to Juke, suggesting that things would be different if Juke decided to come back. Juke responds that it is too late since he is now part of Clover. Simon feels the chill from Juke, realizing it's over between them, and declares that Thunderpike cannot fail again. Juke remains unfazed and walks away with Rain holding his hand. 2 weeks later, Juke has a conversation with Benwood about the location of the overflows. Benwood mentions mentions that they might be facing a stampede and assumes that the Royal Academy likely approved the quest to investigate the achromatic darkness dungeon quickly due to the stampede investigation. Benwood adds that he wants to put out a nomination quest for Clover for an investigation quest in the achromatic darkness dungeon. Juke declines. He believes the job is too risky for a C-rank party. Benwood explains that one party that was supposed to accompany Thunderpike has dropped out, saying the two left cannot be trusted since neither submitted a formal application. Benwood tries to persuade Juke, telling him he can use the scroll of exit to leave the dungeon at any time. He urges Juke to think it over, and that he would have gone himself but can't leave his post, which is why he needs someone trustworthy like Juke. Just then, Mimar enters with the achromatic quest slip and hands it to Juke. According to the slip, the party involved will be granted provisional A-rank status during the mission. Since the quest is posted by the King of Wilmelia, Juke promises to discuss it with his teammates. On the way home, he continues to ponder the quest, and when he tells the girls about it, he adds that he wants to turn it down. He knows they lack preparation and experience, so he can't take that risk. Silk convinces him otherwise, saying that this is an opportunity for them to scout the dungeon, as they will one day need to traverse it in search of the Abyss Gate. The others support her, but Yuki is still against it. Rain realizes that it's because he is scared of losing them. Yuke realizes this too, and Rain gives him a hug encouraging him. Eventually, Yuki agrees to take on the quest. They report back to Benwood, accepting the mission. Yuke requests a good scout for their team, and Mimar, who had already expected them to ask, enters with Nene, who is also interested in becoming their spot. Nene is shy, and Mimar explains that she is a friend's daughter who took a joke a bit too far in her homeland, which is why Mimar took her in and helped her turn things around. Nene introduces herself as a C-rank ninja who was formerly a thief and promises to be useful to them. Benwood then takes them to the underground cavern where the gate of the achromatic dungeon is located beneath the Adventurers Guild. They are surprised to discover that it was right under their feet the whole time. Mimar explains that the Adventurers Guild was built on top of the dungeon to seal its entrance. Before they go in, Benwood informs them that another party out of the three initially supposed to carry out the investigation has backed out, leaving only Thunderpike, who was already in the dungeon. They all go over the rules, and then the dungeon doors open. Benwood reminds them that they are only supposed to take a look around and not go too hard or bring back souvenirs. Juke instructs camera to begin live streaming, drawing everyone's attention. He informs them that they will be investigating the achromatic darkness. They proceed inside, with Nene leading the way using the lamp and her wind priming compass. When she notices that there are no enemies, Nene decides to scout around, putting on her invisible cloak. While she is away, Marina comments that Nene is cool, and Silk asks Juke how he feels now that he is in the achromatic dungeon. But Juke doesn't feel as emotional as he thought he would, unlike Silk, who is quite excited. She confesses that she initially became an adventurer for the money, but now Juke has changed her perspective since he is an adventurer with a dream. Not long after, Nina returns and informs them that she has confirmed their route, though she adds that the place is weird. Juke peeks through a door and finds it strange as well. As they continue on their journey, Juke informs the others that Thunderpike, who entered 2 weeks earlier, is currently on the 8th floor. They all agree that Thunderpike is slow. After a while, Juke reminds them again that their only objective is to find out if there is anything sus going on in the dungeon, not to clear it. He also mentions that their livestream will be reviewed by the guildmaster and scholars from the Royal Academy. Before they turn a corner, Nene uses a mirror to check for threats and realizes that there is a monster nearby. She alerts the team, adding that there is no way around it and they will have to fight. The sharkhead monster is just chilling in the middle of a hallway. Juke instructs the girls on what to do, giving Marina an arrow shooter, as he believes a ranged attack is safer given the monster's huge axe. With that, Clover attacks, but the monster is pretty tough and doesn't fall easily despite their combined efforts. Eventually, it falls as Juke ends it with his spell. Nene is excited that she got to witness Juke using this spell live, as it was the same one he used to defeat the magic beast. When Clover gets to the safety area, they find a chest box. Juke tells them to rest for a while, and Camerat stops recording and goes into sleep mode. They assess their losses before finally deciding to open the chest. Nene picks the lock and also deactivates the trap. The chest contains a lot of really nice and valuable things, which Silk packs into her magic bag that she eventually got, acting on Juke's instructions. Juke finds a ring and a strange cube. He knows the cube is an artifact, but can't really figure out what it is exactly. The box too doesn't know what it is, and Juke likens it to a baby that is waiting to be told what it is. Juke decides to keep it until they have reported it to Benwood. He offers the ring to Rain, and the scene resembles a proposal. He tells her that the ring has the power to stabilize the mind, as she seems a bit out of sorts to him. He also tells Marina that she can have the box. Next, Rain uses her invisible cloak to locate the stairs to the 2nd floor, and they head there. Juke then asks the girls if anything in the dungeon seems sus to them. Silk mentions that the scenery is always changing in certain areas, and Nene says that the monsters they've encountered so far are strange as well. Juke adds that for him, it's the chest that was found at the same time after they just encountered a monster that was out of place on its floor. The appearance of the chest in the safety room of the 1st floor is abnormal since treasures, just like the strength of the monsters they encounter, are usually proportional to the risk level of each floor. But the chest they found contained high-value items, showing that it wasn't the right fit for the 1st floor. The girls ask for a way forward, and Juke tells them they should head back for now. As they get closer to the exit, Nene senses someone nearby. It's Thunderpike. Simon, with his very punchable face, asks Juke why he rejected their request if he was going to come into the dungeon anyway. Juke explains that Clover is there on a formal mission sent by the kingdom. Barry and Camilla feel Juke owes them an apology, but Simon tells them to let it slide since they are now partners on the same job. He then asks Juke to submit everything they have found, including their streaming data. Juke tells Simon that he didn't form an alliance with them, so he refuses to cooperate. Barry says that Juke should be grateful that Thunderpike is offering an alliance to a C-rank party like theirs. Unknown to them, Juke's camera is still streaming, so everyone can see some sort of argument going on. Silk steps up to defend Juke, only for Barry and Camilla to insult her race. When the girls point out their rudeness, Simon tries to shut them off, saying he was speaking to Juke, but Juke tells him to shut up instead, and this literally shocks Simon. His little minion is growing wings and he doesn't like it. Juke is really pissed at them for insulting Silk and almost draws his sword at them. He eventually resorts to using words and informs them that he will never work with them. It's stern, it's final, and hopefully Thunderpike gets the message. Clover finally leaves, and Jamie, who was quiet the whole time, looks like she isn't in support of whatever Thunderpike was doing. 2 days later, Thunderpike is summoned by Benwood, who informs them that allegations have been raised against them by various sponsors because of the insulting comments they made about Silk in the dungeon. Simon, showing no remorse, tells Benwood that it was actually Clover who acted rudely first. He insults Silk again, and this earns him a temporary flying ability as Benwood punches him in the face, sending him flying across the room. Benwood is furious, especially because Simon doesn't grasp the seriousness of his actions. Benwood scolds him for ruining the country's reputation, but Simon is like, it's not that deep. But it is in fact that deep to Benwood, who makes it clear that Simon's behavior could damage the kingdom's relationship with the elves. Even at the point of near death, Simon is still, well, stupid. Benwood demands that Simon issue a public apology to Clover, or they should all be prepared to forfeit their adventurer qualifications. He lets Simon go, but Simon believes they have the advantage since Thunderpike is an A-rank team, and they need an A-rank team for the mission. Benwood breaks it to him that, unlike halfwits like them, Clover has achieved a lot and has been temporarily promoted to A-rank just for this mission, meaning they are cool without Thunderpike. Simon is left speechless. Feeling frustrated, Simon crashes out in the rain. In his mind, he has done nothing wrong, so why should he apologize to Clover? His irritation grows as he wishes for a way to make Juke pay. Luck is on his side, and his wish is quickly granted when Bessio approaches him, offering a way to get back at Juke and Clover. The next day, Marina gives Juke the black box to hold and tells him that she has figured out how to use it, but she can't make it work without his help. Juke realizes it's the kind of artifact that requires the help of an alchemist. Marina then tells him to think of her, and she places her hand under his. Juke does, and when he opens his eyes, the black box has transformed into a really cool sword. Juke asks her how it works, but she says it's a secret, only giving him a hint that a baby needs not only a mom but a dad too. Later, Clover returns to the achromatic darkness dungeon gate, and Benwood advises them not to do too much. Juke agrees and promises to use the scroll of exit to bail as soon as they're in danger. Camrat begins live streaming, and Juke says hi to the viewers. He then informs his party members that their goal this time is to reach the stairway of the 3rd floor and look for oddities. With that, they head into the dungeon. Everything goes smoothly at first, and the layout of the dungeon hasn't changed since their first run. Still, Juke worries about what lies ahead and warns the others to stay alert. Soon, they find themselves in an open field. Clover is confused after all. They're inside a dungeon, yet there is a sky above them. Juke tells everyone to remain calm, explaining that there are records of floors that take the form of outdoor areas. Juke is only concerned that the floor showed up too early, knowing that such floors have only been confirmed to show up no higher than the 20th level. Now he understands why the achromatic dungeon has been said to be so unusual. He asks if Nini's wind priming is working, but the wind is too strong. Juke decides to take a look around but realizes that he forgot to bring his telescope, so Rain volunteers to use her magic telescope eyes. Juke carries her on his shoulder so she can get a better view, and Rain spots a small house some miles away. They start heading toward it. On the way, Rain asks if it's normal to find houses in dungeons. Juke replies that while it is normal to find ruins and all, a whole house isn't. He tells everyone to be extra careful and move quickly while the sun is up since nighttime could mean more danger for them. When they arrive, they notice the house looks newly built. Rain can't sense any mana, and Nini suggests they go in. That's not a good idea, Nini. Don't act white. Juke wonders if the house might be a safety area but still decides to treat it as an abnormality. Suddenly, an old woman walks out and offers them tea, saying she also has snacks inside for them. I would be racing back to the previous floor at this point. Thankfully, Juke is not dumb. He knows there is no way a person, much less an elderly one, could be living inside a dungeon. Marina asks the woman why she lives there, and the woman replies that it's a long story. She invites them in to talk, but Juke refuses. The woman warns that the sun will soon go down, and immediately, it gets dark. The house begins moving weirdly and reshaping, growing larger. Clover is mesmerized and the woman's form shifts back into her original self, the pale, immortal ruler, Lady Persephone. Juke realizes he almost crossed the threshold and steps back. Persephone takes his space in her hand, saying she dislikes clever boys, since Juke knew it was a bad idea to go inside. Juke jumps away, and the house continues expanding into a massive mansion. Persephone now sits on her throne, a goddess who reverses chooses life and death. She tells them that since they're here, none of them will leave alive. Juke kneels and recites a phrase that makes Persephone stare at him for a moment before leaning close to whisper that she won't forget what he said. Immediately, a curse appears on Juke's cheeks, causing him pain. He quickly orders the girls to head back to the stairway and they start racing toward it. Juke uses physical enchantment to boost their speed. As they flee, he explains who the woman is, and it dawns on them that they're in the land of the dead. A dark aura begins chasing them, draining their mana, but they eventually reach a safety area. Juke asks if everyone is okay, and they are, only exhausted. Cameron ends the livestream. Juke admits that his mana has been drained and he can't use refresh mana at the moment. The girls stare in shock as Neen points out the curse on his face. They hand him a mirror, and Juke is also shocked to see it. Rain apologizes, saying she doesn't have the power to remove it, but Juke tells her not to worry. He'll visit the temple once they're home. While they eat, Juke fills them in on everything he knows about the place they escaped from, known as the Grey Field. They ask about the phrase he used, and Juke explains that it came from a protagonist who once visited that realm, and the phrase helped him to survive. The Grey Field is a world different from theirs, ruled by Persephone, who controls both night and day in an endless cycle. He tells them that everything in that realm is reversed. Because of all the abnormalities they've seen in this dungeon, Juke becomes convinced that the Abyss Gate is actually a doorway to another world. He believes the Abyss Gate is where the edges of many worlds, including theirs, overlap, which explains why the achromatic dungeon can replicate different realities. Juke asks what floor they're currently on, suspecting it might be the 30th. The dungeon feels too weird and complex. Marina agrees with Rain's earlier thought that the stairways might be skipping them ahead to random floors. That would explain why it seemed there were sudden changes in layout between entering and exiting. Juke suggests they leave immediately, but the girls insist they're too exhausted and should rest before thinking about it again and deciding when they have recovered. Juke gives in. It's 4 against 1, so he really doesn't have a say at this point. Clover goes to sleep, and the next thing, Juke is abruptly woken up by Simon. He is bound and all, as are the other Clover members. Juke is surprised to see Simon, who tells him that they followed them in. The rest of the Thunderpike members are there too. Juke demands to know what they have done to his team, and Camilla says they just put them to sleep temporarily. Barry shows Juke the slave collar on Rain's neck, saying a generous sponsor with a grudge against Juke gave it to them. He tells Juke that with the item he's holding, he can control Rain to go wherever he says. Juke tries to scare him, warning that when word gets out, they'll be considered criminals. But Simon doesn't care. He says they're already cooked anyway. He suggests patching things up since, according to him, Juke is technically a Thunderpike member. He shows Juke an official paper claiming that upon the mission's start, Clover requested an alliance with Thunderpike and that the discriminatory comments toward elves happen often in Clover, which Thunderpike only followed because they had orders to follow Clover's lead. It also says Juke must take the blame for all damages caused by his supposed lies and sedition. At this point, I wish there was a way to punch someone through the screen, because if this isn't rage bait, what is? Thunderpike then demands that Juke make a public apology video to them, and lastly, Clover will be absorbed by Thunderpike as a way to rectify the matter. It's a lot, and Juke can barely wrap his head around what is going on. He tries to diss Simon, who gets physical. Simon threatens to harm the girls, and Juke reluctantly agrees to sign it, but this doesn't stop Simon from further assaulting him. Even the other members grow uneasy, worried that he might unalive the poor boy, and tell Simon to chill out. Simon finally stops and orders Juke to sign quickly so he won't hurt his friends. Just as Juke is about to, a sudden earthquake shakes the dungeon. When it stops, Juke tells the others that it feels like the dungeon is losing its stability, but Simon dismisses it, thinking Juke is trying to stall until the floor starts cracking and then collapses, causing all of them to fall through. Mid-air, Jamie activates fall control, giving herself and Clover a soft landing, unlike the others who have probably broken a bone or two. They immediately get surrounded by orcs. Jamie grabs Juke's magic bag and hands it to him while Simon cusses at her for betraying them. As Juke fights off the approaching enemies, Jamie uses her magic to wake the girls and free them. Juke orders them to stand close to him. Then he activates the scroll and tells Jamie to get the other Thunderpike members into the circle too. Jamie is surprised that Juke still cares about them after everything they have done. Just when things seem under control, Simon, being the fool he is, grabs Rain hostage. Juke's magic on the orcs fades, forcing Clover to fight manually while Juke tries to talk sense into his ex-best friend's dumb skull. He can't use magic while the scroll is active, so he just watches. Meanwhile, this is Simon's desperate attempt to get Juke to save him too. Jamie sneaks up behind Simon unnoticed and strikes him, pinning him down. He manages to break free and is about to join Juke's circle when Barry calls out to him for help since they can't move. But Simon, being the awful person he is, refuses, yelling at them to save themselves. Just as he's about to jump in, Jamie hits him again with her magic. Juke shouts for her to join them as the scroll activates, but she says goodbye while Simon screams for them to take him along. Clover disappears and Simon is furious that they left him behind. As the orcs close in on them, he is forced to possess himself while Jamie just accepts her fate. Jamie had made a video where she confessed to Thunderpike's wrongdoings. She also talked about how Juke always helped her with the medicine for her brother, and she hadn't realized how expensive it was until after he left. She regrets not being grateful for that and for treating him like trash along with the other Thunderpike members. She adds that she only realized after Juke left how hard he had always worked to keep all of them safe. She knows it's too late and wishes she had apologized sooner, knowing that Juke, being a big softie, would have forgiven her. Jamie finally apologizes to Juke before quickly ending the recording as Simon calls out to her. After watching the video, Juke regrets leaving Jamie behind in the dungeon after she gave everything to save them. Rain tries to convince him that he didn't have a choice. Redwood informs him that they received a distress signal stream from achromatic darkness and plays the recording for them. It's Jamie calling for help, saying the dungeon is in serious danger as the floors have started collapsing. This makes Juke volunteer to go rescue her himself. Redwood tells him to calm down since he hasn't fully recovered yet, but Juke is determined and asks Redwood to get him another scroll of exit. Redwood leaves without giving a definite answer, but Juke is already resolved. He tells the girls that he will go save Jamie himself, and they all volunteer to go with him. Thanks to the curse placed on him, Juke is able to release Rain from the slave collar. The girls are surprised that Juke can now use dark magic, but he explains that spells and skills he never knew have been forced into him because of the curse, and that he is now a disciple of Persephone. He assures them he'll be fine, saying Persephone took a liking to him in her own way. The mark on his face disappears, and suddenly there's a loud knock. They already know who it is, and Juke goes out to meet him. Becio brags about how he will soon be their master, but Juke warns him to stay away from them. This angers him, and he tries to attack, but Juke is faster. Nine and Marina also take out the guards. When Becio gets back up, Juke informs him not to expect to see Simon again because he is dead. The man is not bothered. He believes Simon was able to fulfill their objective. With that in mind, he brings out the slave collar control and calls out to Rain, who plays along. When she gets closer, she uses her staff to nearly give him a concussion. She is about to commit her first crime, but Juke stops her. Rain places the collar on Becio and promises to give him the worst death possible when next she sees him. She returns to Juke, holding his hand, and tells him that she belongs to Juke. This comes as a shock to everyone, including Juke. Juke then places a deadly curse on him that will activate anytime he gets close to Rain. Villain mode is activated. He instructs Nenny and Marina to hand him over to the Royal Examiner. Later that night, Clover prepares all the weapons and items they will need to enter the dungeon. Everything is ready except the Scroll of Light. Just then, a knock comes through. It's another party member, Lucent, who heard Clover was in need of the scroll. He asks Juke for his reason for entering the dungeon, and when Juke explains, Lucent finds the answer satisfactory. He hands over the scroll, saying he understands what is most important to an adventurer. After he leaves, Nine tells them that when Lucent was starting out, he lost his entire party in a dungeon, and Juke realizes that is why he was so willing to help them save a party mate. They reach the dungeon gates only to learn that it's been ordered sealed. Benwood warns them that if they force their way in, they will face punishment. Juke still decides to go, saying he doesn't deserve to be an adventurer if he backs out now. Mamar asks if he will be able to locate Jamie, and Juke believes that with their understanding of the dungeon, it's possible. He tells her that he thinks the place they end up in is determined by their subconscious. He explains that when her party entered the dungeon, they imagined it as the most difficult one, and that's why it turned out that way. Mamar agrees, adding that it was the same for Clover. Since they went in searching for abnormalities, they ended up in the most abnormal place. Juke decides to take advantage of that, letting the dungeon lead them to Jamie since they are going in with the intention to save her. Benwood tells him to be careful and that a rescue team will be on standby. They enter the dungeon, fighting through monsters as they go. Eventually, they are warped directly to where Jamie is. The area is a replica of Finney's. Nine spots a blood trail, and Juke recognizes the direction Jamie must have gone. They follow it toward her house and find her badly injured and covered in blood. Simon then appears, and Juke is shocked to see he is still alive. They realize he has messed up his body with some evil that is not from their world. Simon has turned himself undead to remain alive. Clever. He attacks Juke, but Marina steps in and fights him, managing to cut off his hands, though he easily regenerates. He strikes again, but Juke protects Clover using the Scroll of Light shield. Seeing that Simon is no longer human, Juke decides to end the monster once and for all. Their battle drags on, both of them going all out, each fueled by rage for different reasons. Despite Juke's relentless attacks, Simon remains unfazed. After all, he has an immortal body. Remembering their past, Juke curses Simon with his dark magic and finishes with Prismatic Missile. He wishes Simon good luck with his immortality, and immediately, Simon's body begins expanding and bursting, turning him into a disfigured, swollen figure. Marina asks if Juke won't finish him off, but Juke tells her the spell remains active until the target dies, so since Simon is immortal, he'll just remain a giant ball of regret. Simon starts begging Juke for help, reminding him that they are friends, but Juke turns away, almost feeling sorry for him. Meanwhile, Rain struggles to heal Jamie, but the wound is too deep. Juke joins her, requesting a healing potion, but it doesn't work either. Eventually, he uses his dark magic to dispel the dark energy from Simon's magic blade, and it works. Jamie then falls into a deep sleep. As night falls, shadow stalkers appear and go straight for Simon. He's about to have the worst time of his life. Juke watches as they tear into him, while Marina worries he'll be trapped there, suffering forever. Juke makes a tough decision, and with the Scroll of Light, they leave, abandoning Simon to his cruel fate. 1 week later, Juke and Jamie report to the guild for punishment. Clover's score is reduced, and they're banned from party activity for a month, while Jamie is stripped of her qualification as an adventurer. They're both surprised by the light sentence. Jamie was expecting worse, to be exiled, but Mamar tells her that she provided evidence of Thunderpike's illegal activities, and it was confirmed that she didn't make any discriminatory remarks against elves. Jamie thanks them. As they leave, Jamie knows that Juke put in good words for her not to be exiled. She apologizes apologizes for everything she did and how she took advantage of his kindness. Juke tells her not to worry about it as she has apologized a lot of times already. Juke blames himself for not communicating better with Thunderpike. He believes things would have turned out differently if he had made efforts to get them to understand him. Jamie takes his hand and tells him that it's not his fault and no matter what he did, it wouldn't have changed anything. She then says goodbye and thanks Juke for everything. They part ways and Juke returns home to a warm welcome. 1 week later, Juke visits the guild and informs Mamar that he would like to formally invite Nene to join Clover. Mamar supports the idea but asks if he believes Nene will be able to manage. Juke assures her that she will, and she already is, that he even forgot she was only with them temporarily. Mamar then promises to handle the paperwork. Juke suggests they confirm with Nene, but Mamar knows she won't refuse it and opens the door to reveal Nene, who was eavesdropping. Nene says she came to deliver a message from Silk to Juke. Mamar scolds her for eavesdropping and she apologizes. Juke then asks for her answer to his proposal and she accepts. Mamar hugs her and after their goodbyes, Nene leaves with Juke. In the hallway, Nene hands Juke the letter and after reading it, he says they should visit Jamie. Meanwhile, Jamie is having a good time at work, cheerfully using her powers to arrange books on shelves. Juke and Nene interrupt her, and upon seeing them, Jamie complains about how messy the room is, saying it'll take her weeks to finish. Nene finds that amazing, admitting it would take her a year. Jamie thanks Juke for speaking with the guildmaster and helping her get the job, but Juke pretends not to know what she's talking about. She thanks him anyway, saying it's a great way to earn income for her brother's medication. After Juke asks about her brother's well-being, he tells her that Silk requested she stop by their base on her way home. In the evening, Juke and the girls head back to Clover's base while chatting about how nice the weather is. This triggers Juke's memory of the good winter days he spent with Simon. Jamie notices his sudden silence and distant look. Both girls can tell what he's thinking and try to cheer him up. When they finally arrive home, Juke uses the ladies first phrase to get the girls to go in first. As they open the door, they are met with a surprise. It's a welcome party for Nene and Jamie's official entry into Clover. The girls realize that is why Juke was acting all Suze. Nene is quite excited, but Jamie feels like she doesn't deserve all of this after all she did to Juke and Clover. Silk reminds her that she also saved them. The others join in to reassure her, helping Jamie feel accepted and emotional as she thanks them. Juke teases her for crying and the party begins. During the meal, they decide to rename their group Six-Leaf Clover and toast to it. After the celebration, Juke walks Jamie home. On the way, he confesses that when they first started out, he admired her a little. She had that city girl vibe a country boy couldn't help but notice. Jamie also says that he was cute back then too, recalling how he couldn't even use running water properly. Their conversation drifts to Simon, and Juke starts to feel down, reminiscing about his time in Thunderpike. He admits that he is who he is because of Thunderpike, but now it doesn't even exist because of him. Jamie comforts him, saying it's not his fault that things would have fallen apart anyway. She adds, it's Thunderpike's fault for failing to recognize how useful he was to them. She asks him to give her a chance to prove herself once she's able to become an adventurer again. When Juke returns home, Rain is washing dishes while the others are out with a wagon to move Nene's things. Juke is worried that they went out this late and asks why Rain didn't follow them, and she says she lost at rock paper scissors, so she had to stay and clean up. Juke decides to help her, and as they work, Rain jokes that they look like newlyweds. Juke nearly drops the plate, surprised, and Rain asks if it's really that shocking, and if he wouldn't want to see her in an apron every day. Juke replies that he would, making Rain flustered as she quickly resumes washing. Juke takes her hand and starts flirting with her. His rizzing skill is not that great as he is nervous too. He admits he doesn't know what he's doing. Rain tells him to do whatever he wants. When Juke hesitates, she says his time is up and kisses his cheek, telling him that's how she feels and that he can give his answer later. Just then, the others return asking for help with the luggage, and Juke quickly runs off, flustered. 1 month later, Juke visits the guild and tells Mamar that Clover is ready to resume the next day. Mamar assumes he came to request a quest, but Juke says he just stopped by to say hello. She decides to share some news that a new dungeon has been discovered, though it isn't public yet. Juke is surprised, as it's been over 10 years since one was last found. Mamar explains that it's located on the bank of Lake Rhine near the trading city of Duna, and it was found by a local when they were fishing. She advises that he use it for Clover's comeback stream, knowing that streaming the first look inside a dungeon can get them a lot of views. Mamar informs him that the Royal Academy assumes that all the abnormalities that have been occurring in various dungeons may have been after effects of this new dungeon's appearance, and since Clover did a good job investigating achromatic darkness, they have been nominated to investigate this one. She tells him that the request comes from the kingdom as well. Juke feels it's too good to be true since they're just coming back from a suspension, but Mamar tells him the guildmaster personally proposed it. Juke promises to discuss it with his team since he can't make such a big decision alone. When he returns home, he finds Marina cleaning her sword. She remarks that his face says he found them a good quest. Juke asks how she knows, and she says she can always tell. He asks where the others are, and Marina fills him in. He promises to tell everyone over dinner so they can decide together whether to accept the quest. Marina says she's heading to the Adventurers Guild for a bit. Jamie has something cool to lend her. After she leaves, Rain steps out from the bath and asks Juke to help dry her hair. While he does, she also comments that the look on his face says he has found a good quest for them. Juke laughs it off, saying Marina said the same thing. Rain questions if doing well in this dungeon would grant them another chance at achromatic darkness, and Juke thinks there's a chance. When he's done, Rain thanks him and goes to take a nap, teasing him to come keep her warm. Juke, being Juke, just stands there confused. As Rain leaves, Silk enters with tea for herself and Juke. She can also notice that he must have found a good quest for them. At this point, Juke realizes how much of an open book he is. He tells her he was going to tell everyone over dinner, but decides to tell her first. He shares everything Mamar told him, and Silk supports the idea, saying they should accept, promising to help out with the preparations and planning. She can also tell that Juke wants to accept it. Juke decides to head back to He Guild to get more details about the quest, asking Silk to check their supplies for the dungeon assault. She agrees and tells him to talk to Janie while he's there, adding that they're hosting a small party to celebrate being released from suspension. As Juke heads out, Nene returns and remarks that he looks like he's found a new quest for them. Juke races off to the guild, eager to take on the quest. The next day, Clover begins their journey to Duna, the new dungeon location. Their trip lasts for 2 weeks, during which they make several stops before finally arriving at the Duna trade city. The city is lively and bustling, and they spot a Salmutarian cafe where Juke jokes that they serve 3-eyed frog liver dripping with blood. Marina is disgusted, but Juke tells her he is joking before asking if they would like to visit it while in town. Marina can't wait. Rain notices many adventurers around, and Juke says that word of the new dungeon must have gotten out since he can also see foreign adventurers. Seeing the other adventurers wearing matching cloaks, Marina suggests they get one for themselves. Everyone agrees, and Juke promises to come up with something. He also mentions that he could use alchemy to add some magical effects to them, turning them into artifacts so they'll have a practical use. Nene notifies them that they're close to the Adventurers Guild. When they arrive, Juke tells the others to relax at a pub while he and Silk meet with the guildmaster. He also tells them to pay attention to gossip and gather any intel they can. They meet the guildmaster, Manila, who looks like she belongs in a dungeon herself. Juke and Silk introduce themselves as the leader and assistant leader of Clover. Juke explains that they are there to confirm some additional details they received from Benwood. Manila fills them in on everything they need to know and tells them that any items they find are theirs to keep, though the guild will review all their findings and record them. Based on how Juke is watching her, Manila senses his wariness and points it out, saying she understands why he would be cautious, especially since he is traveling with a group of pretty girls. Juke apologizes for his rude behavior, and Manila says it's fine, reminding him that they'll be business partners for a while, so they need to get along. As they shake hands, she asks when they plan on entering the dungeon. Juke looks to Silk, who replies that they will rest from their journey first, prepare, and enter on the 3rd day. Manila comments that she can see why Juke is Benwood's favorite, revealing that she and Benwood go way back. She used to be a member of Anubis, his uncle's party. Juke is surprised and asks her to go easy on him. Manila gives them directions to the lodging she prepared for them. Juke and Silk thank her, and she responds with a wink. On their way back, they talk about how nervous they were around her since her presence is overwhelming. They are both grateful for her help in arranging a place to stay, as they don't know the city well. When they reach the pub, they find the other girls arguing with some men angrily speaking in a foreign language. Juke steps in and speaks to the men in their language. He tells them that the girls are his wives and that he spends every night with them. The men are stunned and back off immediately. Marina asks what he said, and Juke replies that he told them the girls are his precious family and companions, or at least that's what he thought he said. Only Rain understands what he truly said. When Juke checks if everyone is okay, the girls confirm, though Rain and Nene are visibly upset. On their way back, Juke explains that Salmutaria is a country where men traditionally dominate women and treat them as human property. Marina asks why those men backed off so easily without causing trouble. Juke explains that their laws are strict. If those men had taken his property from him, they couldn't complain if theirs was taken away in return in the name of their god. The girls understand, and Marina repeats that they should get matching gear like those men, so everyone knows they belong to Juke. But Juke tells her not to say it like that as it could cause misunderstandings. Rain then uses the opportunity to point out that what Juke said to those men didn't mean what he thought it did, but she refuses to tell him what it actually meant. When they arrive at the lodge, Fina welcomes them warmly and serves them tea. She introduces herself as the innkeeper and admits she's a fan of Clover. The group thanks her and comments on how comfortable the place feels, almost like visiting family. Fina adds that all their needs will be covered by the guild, so they won't need to pay for anything. She also informs them that she has closed the inn to the public, assuming they would prefer privacy. Silk thanks her, and Fina decides to show them the main attraction of the inn, the hot spring, saying it will help relieve their exhaustion. Only Nene knows what a hot spring is, so she explains it to the others, who have never seen one before. The girls bathe and enjoy themselves. Later, they have a delicious meal, and Marina enjoys it so much she wishes they stayed there, but she knows they can't. The next day, Clover holds a meeting to discuss everything about the dungeon they will be entering. Silk explains that they will proceed as they did with the Achromatic Darkness dungeon, live streaming the quest while attempting to conquer as many floors as possible. Juke adds that once they go as far as 5th floor, it will likely be open to the public, and that is their first goal. The only information they currently have is that the first floor is an underground waterway, while the rest remains unknown. Juke tells them what kind of monsters to expect based on the environment. There is also a race between parties to see who conquers the dungeon first. Silk briefs them on the other competing parties. Juke tells the team not to treat it like a competition since the other parties are more experienced, and trying to catch up could lead to injuries. He advises them to just be themselves and do their job like they always do. Marina asks how far they hope to go on their first run and what pace they will take. back. Juke says their priority is reaching the stairs to the second floor the next day while conducting a broad investigation of the first floor along the way. He adds that they should gather as much information as possible to help open the dungeon to the public. He also tells Nene her responsibility since wind priming won't work inside the dungeon. For the rest of the day, they're to focus on preparing for the mission. That evening, the girls relax in the hot spring again. The next morning, they arrive at Lake Rhine. Manila gives them a full briefing on the area, telling them she'll be monitoring their progress from the command center. Marina asks about the dungeon's name, and Manila says it hasn't been named yet since they don't know what it contains, adding that if they do a good job, they might turn out to be the adventurers who named the dungeon. With that, they head toward the dungeon. Camerat begins streaming, and everyone is watching. Juke and the others feel a mix of excitement and anxiety about the dungeon as they stand before it. They hope to find something good. They could probably even find the One Piece without needing 1,000 episodes, who knows? As they discuss this, Nene returns from scouting. Wait, they don't just send her ahead because she is the least important member of the group, right? She reports that she has seen something pretty strange, and so they all head back into the dungeon with her. What might have seemed like a lovely adventure tale is slowly growing into the horror genre, because apart from Maniela's face, the dungeon is scary too. Maniela watches the stream comfortably, waiting to see what they'll find in the dungeon. Juke and the others head further in and finally see the creature Nene talked about. It's just chilling there in the open. They can't really identify what it is, and Luke's bright plan is to attack it, so they do. Magically enhancing everyone, Juke leads the assault, but their attacks mean nothing to the creature. Juke is like, who decided that? And casts another combo of spells, but the creature doesn't go down, even though Rain also threw in some spells of her own. There's something unusual about his creature, as it lacks any facial features. But just then, at some point, there's an eye on it. The fight continues until Marina gives the finishing blow with her special sword. The monster is down, but they still can't tell what it is. After speculating for a while, Juke decides to take some samples to be examined back at the Royal Academy. As they collect the samples, Rain notices and draws their attention to a ring in the midst of the creature's bits. Juke tries to appraise it, but he can't tell much. He decides to take that back with him too. They consider following the tracks the creature left, and Nene heads out for a quick scouting. They want to know where the creature came from. Juke admits the creature was pretty tough, and considering this was just the first floor, he wonders what type of creatures are on the other more advanced floors. Meanwhile, ever since the final blow Marina dealt to the monster, she has been uneasy. She mentions that she thinks the creature was human. With her samurai ability, she's supposed to know the thing she unalives. Rain feels the same too, and Juke speculates the creature should have been under some type of demonic possession. Just then, Nene returns. She reports that she found stairs that lead up, which is weird as it should be going the other way, downwards. Also, she claims to have found the creature's nest. Moving to the creature's nest, they realize it's more of an office than a nest. Unless this creature is a high school chemistry teacher, then there's something definitely off. Everything about the room seems normal, and even when they find a book, it's just a journal, not something like the Death Note. Although he can't tell what the writing says as it's a different language, or the writer just has really bad handwriting, Yume hopes it can give them any form of clue. They decide to head for the stairs. At the other end of the stairs, there's a really bright light. Juke stares into it, and it reminds him of Simon, who, in his last moments, looked like he had been on burgers and KFC for a decade. He has a panic attack, and despite trying to act tough, it's obvious. The others worry about him, but he assures them that he's fine and asks that they take a break, ending the live stream. He finally breaks down, but Rain comes to his aid. She suggests he stop hiding his suffering and rest until he's fine. I'm guessing this is supposed to be cute. The others just watch them. After a while, Juke is back up. The others mention how worried they were, and Juke apologizes, explaining that the light has the same color as the color the sky was when he fought Simon. It brought back the trauma. You'd probably be traumatized too if your friend looked so obese that if they sat on a couch, it would creak as they breathed. After explaining this, Juke quickly tries to make it seem less bad so the girls won't feel that bad, but they hug him mid-speech. They had no idea he was going through a lot and would have wanted him not to keep it to himself as their friends. Juke explains that he just felt he should handle it on his own, and he admits that it was the wrong thing to do. They all just want him to share whatever problems he has with the team, and Juke promises to. Now that everything seems calm enough, Juke suggests they have a meeting. He gives the option of either heading upstairs or continuing to explore the first floor. They all seem anxious to see what's upstairs, like they didn't just contend with a really strong unknown creature. They make the decision, but just before leaving, Juke suggests they eat. The cooking process is underway with Juke as the chef Gordon of the team. Finally, it's all set and these guys decide to shoot some dungeon mukbang. After eating, they get ready and head up the stairs. Could that have been their last meal? Okay, it's not that serious. When they arrive, it just looks like a regular city. The vibes are definitely off, and Juke suggests they go back. Considering how strange the dungeon is, it's best they discuss it with the Guildmaster and the Royal Academy. Wise choice, but before they head back, there's a voice. They quickly square up, ready for anything, and just then, an old man appears. The man introduces himself to be Loge. Loge says he was left behind in that world, referring to it as broken. After Juke tells Loge his name, he asks why Loge is in the dungeon. Loge seems surprised that they consider the place to be a dungeon. He isn't being very clear, but he mentions that the city used to be very jolly and all before this. They ask if he's the only one present, and Loge replies that everyone, the king and citizens, is still around. At the end, Loge doesn't really communicate anything to their understanding, and before disappearing, he bids farewell to Juke, mentioning his full name. Juke had only told him his first name, by the way, so this This is really spooky. Everything feels weird and even Persephone's curse gets triggered. Juke suggests they leave, but yet again, there's another holdup. Marina calls their attention to a girl lying unconscious. The next day, at the camp outside the dungeon, Juke presents the clip of the dungeon to Manuela, but just like a vampire, Loge doesn't appear in the video. There's even a speculation that Juke may have hallucinated. Juke is just confused. He asks about the ring they got from the weird creature they defeated, and he is assured that it is being looked into alongside the bits of the creature. Manuela wants to talk about the mission and starts by mentioning that the Misty group dropped out because half their members started feeling unwell upon entering the dungeon. She asks Juke what he genuinely thinks of the dungeon. Juke says he feels it's an alternate world. Manuela believes Juke's speculation might be correct. She mentions that she'll be counting on his intuition, and Juke points out that she just might be overrating him. Manuela asks about the strange unconscious girl. Of course, they took her in, guessing she'll join them, and they'll keep recruiting until their Clover slowly turns into a palm tree branch. Juke responds that she's still out cold. Manuela needs an update when things change. Heading back to the others, Juke notices a letter getting delivered to his destination. When he arrives, he finds everyone looking gloomy, Rain most especially. Juke asks to know what the issue is. He reads the letter, and it's from Count Crowder, Rain's granddad. Rain considers him a stranger. Her mother was banished when she got pregnant with the Count's son's baby. Rain joined the Magic Academy and became an adventurer after her mom fell victim to a plague. She expresses that she didn't expect the letter. The contents of the letter? Well, the second prince of Salmuteria has asked for her hand, and being that she was considered useless to begin with, the Crowder family sees this as an opportunity for Rain to prove her worth. Just as they are all upset, Marina comes up with an idea. She suggests they ignore the letter. It doesn't have Rain's name on it or anything, so they can easily explain that they thought it was delivered wrongly or just a prank. They all act like they never saw the letter and burn it to nothingness, destroying the evidence. Rain bursts out in tears of relief, hugging Juke. Juke assures her it'll all be fine and that they'll figure something out. He asks Nene to communicate with Mamar, asking her to find out all she can about the second prince and Count Crowder, and also erase anything that hints that Rain is related to the Count. He promises to pay her back with fancy souvenirs from his missions. While the others prepare for their next dungeon assault, Juke has a word with Rain outside. As a heads up, he mentions that he's about to do something reckless. Juke asks Rain to marry him, temporarily. This way, the second prince can't mess with her, as she'll be his property. Rain loves the idea and agrees with it. She definitely isn't marrying him as a strategy. The next morning, they're set for the next mission. Manuela briefs Juke and the leader of the only other remaining party, Zakard. Zakard doesn't seem to be friendly or a team player. After he leaves, Manuela informs Juke that his marriage to Rain has been approved. It's just on paper, but Manuela can sense there might be strings attached. Come on, Juke, we know, man. The team is assembled and ready to head into the dungeon again. Their objective is to investigate the dungeon, find out the size, number of monsters that live there, and possibly check out the castle. Above all, Juke just wants them to have fun. They head in and arrive at the stairs. The others wonder if Juke is fine, and he affirms, mentioning that the light isn't as intense as before. Also, Silt notices Rain is acting differently than earlier and asks about it, and Rain says a dream happened to her. I knew it wasn't just strategy. Juke is awkward and wants to quickly get off the topic, and luckily, Neen arrives from her scouting. She mentions that she has seen something. They all hurry there like they've been craving for battle. Yet again, it's a bunch of unknown creatures. Juke and others try to identify the creature, and from the mana Rain senses from it, she likens it to the creature they had encountered back on the first floor. Nini goes to take a closer look at it, and just then, the creature somehow freezes her in place, ready to eat her. Juke is quick enough to jump in and push her out of the way. Nini explains that she couldn't move after staring into the creature's eyes. Whatever the creature is or did, Juke mentions that they can't just leave it out there. They prepare for an assault. Someone call the cops. Juke enhances them and they all start attacking on his mark. Since they have such giant eyes, Juke decides to try something wicked. He casts a spell that flashes in the creature's eyes, and as the effect lasts, they attack and take down the creatures. The last one was going to be the I'll avenge my fallen comrades one, being a bit tough for Rain's ice spell, but Marina cuts it down with a single slash from her special sword. The slash is so powerful that it cuts through the pillar behind the creature as well. Marina still has the same uneasy feeling she had after cutting down the monster on the first floor. These creatures also had a ring each, and Juke and the others note this similarity. Just then, Juke notices Marina is absent-minded. He calls her attention, and from the way she replies, it seems she was lost in thought. She asks them to go ahead, as she wants to sort things out. Juke understands and lets her have some time alone, moving with the rest of the team to take a break. Later on, they all settle down and discuss. Marina reveals that she had the same feeling. It was as if she were fighting a human when she cut through the creature and the pillar. She isn't really sure of this though, as her samurai skills are just at the beginner's level. In general, they all feel something is seriously off about the place. Looking up to Juke to call their next course of action, Juke suggests they have a view of the place from the rooftop. From the rooftop, it all seems like a regular city. Hardly believable that this is supposed to be a dungeon. After Nina mentions that she has memorized the view, Juke suggests they head over to the castle in the city. According to him, once they've confirmed what it looks like on the inside, they'll leave for the day. On their way to the castle, they notice the city is way too quiet to be a place that's still inhabited by citizens, like Loge said. Just then, they wonder where Loge is, and Juke mentions that they all were probably hallucinating, as Loge didn't appear in the footage they took. But But this doesn't add up, since Rain saw Loge too. If he was just in their heads, then she wouldn't be affected, as she has the purification ring on. They conclude Loge is real and that their camerad is probably under some influence. As they draw closer to the entrance, they notice Loge standing there creepily. He welcomes them to the castle, and Juke goes straight to the point, asking what the city really is. Again, Loge doesn't give any direct answers. They want to know if the creatures were originally humans. Loge is curious to know what they think makes a human, whether or not a creature can be human regardless of its physical form. At this point, it's just annoying. Rain asks about the rings, but Loge doesn't give a straight answer. The rings are called 1 gold, but seeing as they are quite numerous, Rain wonders what their purpose is. Loge successfully evades any clear and coherent answer and finally takes his leave, disappearing. According to him, it's best if Juke and the others figure out the answers to their questions in the course of their mission, and he can't wait to see them again. After Loge is gone, the castle gates open up, and Juke and the others troop in. They seem a little bit too chill considering how eerie the place has been so far. Once again, Juke presented the footage they had to Maniela for analysis. The Royal Academy supervisor is present in person, and this is a big surprise to Juke considering the supervisor's status. Juke reports that despite scooping the area, they weren't able to sneak in. Maniela is convinced Loge wasn't in their heads, and while the reason Loge doesn't appear in the clips may be because of some magical influence, the investigation isn't complete yet. Both Maniela and Bodeman thank Juke for his efforts and contributions. Bodeman reveals that the results from the creature's bits examinations are ready. The results liken the creatures to humans, confirming Marina's gut. Following this information, they can't let ordinary adventurers through, as this might just cause more casualties, or worse, an overflow. Juke throws in an extra, mentioning that Marina had said that when she cut down the pillar in that city, it also felt like cutting down a human. He was able to collect samples of the floor and walls and bring them in. Maniela is eager to know the results of the appraisal of the samples and scarily orders that the appraisal process be sped up. Juke is curious about the progress on the golden rings, so Bodeman provides him with an update. He explains that Rain has requested a specific material for the rings and that it is currently being addressed. Bodeman then shares that he has one more thing to tell Juke. He reveals that some viewers who were watching the live stream of Misty, the team that had to drop out of the mission due to their members feeling unwell, experienced a similar fate. Bodeman is led to believe that there's something in the stream that triggered this effect, and Juke suspects it from the light in the dungeon, considering one of the cryptic replies Loge gave them. Bodeman mentions that the investigation has been put on hold for the time being, awaiting the decision of the government whether or not the dungeon should be closed down. However, Juke's team might need to go in there a couple of times, so Bodeman wants them to stay in Duna. Juke is fine with this, and just as he steps out, he meets Nine, who came running. Nine is freaking out. She mentions that the strange girl lit up and went all weird. On hearing this, Juke hurries to the scene. When he arrives, he is confused as he witnesses the sight. The girl floats and glows like she's cosplaying as Captain Marvel. The others don't seem to know what is going on either. The girl speaks up, mentioning that she has been waiting for Juke. She introduces herself as the Golden Priestess and reveals that Juke's world is in danger and there's little time. She calls it the culling, grab a dictionary or something. She mentions that her world would likely destroy them all. The twilight of the city and the dungeon, which she reveals to be causing distortion, will spread into Juke's world, making it just like the dungeon. She explains that as long as Juke avoids going too deep into the other world, he can prevent himself from being consumed by the light. She urges them to find Loge and make him answer their questions. According to her, Loge exists at the very edge of normalcy due to his self-distortion. Rain wonders why she is sharing all this information, and the Golden Priestess reveals that she and her people should have fallen, but they made a wish for their eternity to be golden, as they could not accept their fate. Everything seems clear until she begins talking like an 80-year-old philosopher. She mentions the fruit of the world tree, which grants wishes. After that, she stops answering questions and instructs Juke to defeat the Twilight King and destroy the gold. If he fails, his world will also be engulfed by twilight. After delivering this message, the girl stops glowing and falls back, seemingly freed from possession. She seems like a completely different person and expresses her pleasure at meeting them. Everyone is really welcoming, which is strange considering they should be panicking after hearing the dark prophecy from the Golden Priestess. She introduces herself as Nibiruun. They can sense that the divine aura of the Golden Priestess is no longer present, but the twilight does linger. Juke asks Nibiruun if she remembers anything about what just happened. She replies that she recalls a little. She explains that the Golden Priestess is not her but merely a fragment of a being that resides within her. She assures them that the being is gone, or is it? Juke, ever friendly, tells her not to worry about it. Juke informs the rest of his team that the situation is dire and that ordinary adventurers like them won't be able to handle it alone. A week later, Juke meets with Maniela and Bettybor, the Academy Director. After sharing information about the Twilight, Bettybor requests to speak with Juke privately. Once Maniela leaves, Bettybor tells Juke, who appears tense, to relax and not worry about his status. Curious about what the culling is, Juke asks for clarification. Given that Juke is seen as the chosen one, Bettybor takes the time to explain it to him. He shows Juke a visual of an old mural in the basement of the royal household. Juke struggles to read it due to the ancient script, which, again, is probably just bad handwriting. According to Bettybor's father, who had studied the mural in the past, the culling is essentially a worldwide screening. Bettybor explains that there are parallel worlds to their own. These worlds are not meant to coexist, but sometimes they overlap. The culling determines which world will survive. alive. However, Bettybor feels that this event has been forced upon their world by the Twilight City, even though Nibiruun mentioned it was accidentally brought into their world. Regardless, Bettybor reveals that Juke is the hero who will stop this. Juke is surprised, but it seems this is fate. Juke is skeptical about this. He doesn't think he can do this. However, Bettybor persists, mentioning that someone has to do it and that shouldn't just be anyone. Juke still isn't in agreement, so Bettybor threatens to promote a member of his team to A rank and then have them do it instead. Bettybor just wants to motivate Juke, and his threat has probably done it. He mentions that he knows Juke's uncle, pointing out that Juke seems a lot like his uncle when he was younger. He was a really good adventurer. Not like Bettybor is entrusting this mission in Juke's hands because of this, he just feels like Juke should be the one to do it. Apart from the fact that the Golden Priestess chose him, there are a lot of things he can do that no one else can. Juke says he needs some time to think about it and also discuss it with his party mates. He still feels like everyone has really high expectations of him. Although a quick answer is more preferable, Bettybor allows him. Juke discusses this with Rain, and she thinks being a hero is amazing. Noticing Juke isn't really okay with it, she asks him to just refuse the role if he doesn't want it. But Juke tells her about Bettybor's threat. Refusing is not an option. Juke wouldn't mind going into the dungeon again, but saving the whole world? It just seems a bit too much on him. Rain reminds him that Nibiruun called him by his name while in her Captain Marvel state. She believes that this means that Juke is the only option. Rain stops him from overthinking, telling him to just continue being the adventurer that he normally is. Thinking about this, Juke is a bit relieved. He thanks Rain for this, and she promises that she's always by his side no matter what might happen. She is happy Juke came to talk to her and believes the others will feel the same. 3 days later, Juke, alongside the leaders of 3 other parties, Scordia, Carmine, and Fullbound, get briefed on the objective of their mission. Together, they're to fulfill the conditions to seal the city in the dungeon, Glad She Im. While their missions will be streamed, only a limited number of viewers will be allowed to watch. They wouldn't want the Twilight effect to influence everyone. At the end of the briefing, Zacard asks a question when given the opportunity. He wonders why a C-rank party like Clover is allowed to join them in their mission. It appears his beef is just with Clover. Bettybor explains that Clover has proven itself to be worthy of the A-rank status, at least for now. They did succeed in investigating the achromatic darkness though, which is the most difficult dungeon they know. Also, Clover provided a lot of support and results in the current mission. However, Zacard doesn't think what Clover has achieved is a big deal, mentioning that his party can pull it off as a cakewalk. Lucent, the leader of the Scordia party, points out that Zacard would definitely not make it out of the dungeon alive. Zacard gets pissed and is just being an angry little girl until Morona, leader of the Carmine party, tries to stop it. She explains that although Clover isn't at their level, their focus should be on getting on with the mission. Zacard stands down and angrily leaves the room. Lucent and Morona follow up, promising to make the mission a success. Juke had told Bettybor to keep the whole hero thing a secret, and Bettybor now agrees it was a smart choice, as that would have pissed Zacard even more. Bodeman drops a quick update about the equipment Rain requested, mentioning that it is almost ready. Whatever it is, it seems it'll be making an appearance in the final throwdown, like Stormbreaker in Infinity Wars. Once again, Bettybor asks to confirm if Juke is ready for this, and Juke promises to try his best. Juke and the rest of the team rack their brains thinking of a way to invade the castle. Even with all the information they've gathered, they still haven't found a way. Rain suggests they get Nibiruun to help as she has some connections with Glad She Im. Oh, and not because she's Captain Marvel? Juke is skeptical about this, but Rain says that despite it being dangerous, she strongly feels they should take her along. As they discuss, Marina interrupts, announcing the presence of a visitor, Lucent. Lucent apologizes for the disturbance, mentioning that he needs to talk to Juke about their next course of action. After discussing for a while, Lucent wants them to take Nibiruun along, promising to protect her as well. Juke is still having second thoughts as Lucent points out that they're running out of time. The dungeon is already in a state to cause an artificial overflow. He points out that Juke was able to bring Nibiruun out of Glad She Im, which shouldn't be possible as she's supposedly connected to the place. Juke thinks about this for a while. Juke finally makes the decision, agreeing to carry Nibiruun along. The mission begins, and the Carmine party observe from the high ground, while Fullbound follows its boneheaded leader Zacard, who clearly has no clue what he's doing. However, Clover and Scordia form an alliance and head to the castle's entrance. Loge is before them and welcomes Nibiruun, but she doesn't seem to remember him. However, Loge feels it's probably for the best that she doesn't recall anything. Juke tells Loge that the Golden Priestess instructed them to make him talk. He asks Loge what the matter really is and about the fate of his world. Even now, even after it is clear that the Honored One has entrusted the mission to Juke, Loge still doesn't give anything much. He says that there's not much he can say. Like, dude, just say everything and save us 2 extra episodes. He mentions that since Juke and the others are with Nibiruun, they'll learn it all eventually. The gates open and Loge ushers them in. He says it's the place they'll learn all they need to know. Lucent takes precautions splitting his team in case it is a trap. He wouldn't want everyone to walk into it at once. He also sends word to the other parties about this. Together with Lucent, his mage, Moria, and the Clover party members, Juke follows Loe. As they walk through the castle, Nibiruun seems afraid, but Marina assures her that they have her back. They can sense that the place is rejecting them. Finally, they arrive at the Royal Archive, and when Loge opens up the door, they're all awed. The place is luxurious and full of lots of books. Loge says he's a poor speaker, so the books in the archive should suffice and help with any questions they have, but Maria doesn't believe this. He reveals that Loge most likely has very powerful mana, or a curse in him that prevents him from voicing things out directly. He explains that Logue wants to speak and that the things he wants to say are hidden in the archives. On Moria's directions, Lucen grabs a couple of books. Moria inquires if Nibiruun can read, and after she affirms, she happily goes ahead to check out the books Lucen got. Meanwhile, Rain casts a spell and is able to pinpoint some other important things: a book and a suspicious desk drawer. Also, Silk notices the presence of unusual spirits. She can't really explain what she feels, but likens them to memories connected to people's minds. Silk attempts to make contact, and when she does, a book comes flying to her. Silk recognizes it, referring to it as a book spirit. She goes ahead to get whatever she can from it. Nene reports to Juke that a key was found in the suspicious desk drawer. They believe it's for a certain book with a keyhole. Juke wants to be cautious and asks Loge if the book is dangerous or not. However, Loge can't say anything. Juke persists more sternly, and finally, Loge says the book is safe. As he utters these words, it is as though a spell came off the book, as if it just became safe. Juke apologizes to Loge for being forceful, but Loge has no problem with that. They go ahead to open the book with the key, but they don't really understand much from it. However, Silk believes she can help. She's with the flying book and it's so much smaller, she feels they can get the flying book to help and asks Juke to take her by the hand. When he does, a spell is released, and Juke and Silk are somehow in the book. With them is the book spirit, Biblion. Silk feels it was summoned by the elementals from the past to watch over the library. After affirming that Juke is a good person, Biblion warns that the book is quite dangerous. Juke mentions that he wants to know what is in it, and Biblion would rather show him than read it. After he gets ready, Biblion takes him into the book, and it's just like watching what he needs to know. Juke sees a man who seems to be studying and asks who the man is and what he's doing. Whatever the dude says to him is cryptic, but he gets it. His trip is rather short, and as soon as his conversation with the man ends, Juke is back. The others are curious to know what he learnt, and Juke explains. The book is similar to a technical book, and the author was studying something called multi-destruct magic formula. Whatever explanation he spewed further made no sense to the layman, but Rain and Moria get it. Moria is done deciphering the book he was on. According to him, the book explains how Glad She'im got to the state it is. Just like every other story, Glad She'im was a regular city in their world, with everything going smoothly until a disastrous event called the Sunset, or the Culling, occurred. The people of the world were proficient in mag, so they devised a means to escape their fate. Juke connects the dots to what he learnt from the book he explored, that the magic described in the book grants wishes. Moria is surprised as he would have speculated it to be an evacuation spell. Juke explains that the author of the book wasn't after escaping, he was trying to find a way to stop the culling. As Juke continues, he finds it difficult to remember exactly what he learnt. Juke mentions that he doesn't want to remain in the place for too long, suggesting they discuss what they've learnt when they return, and everyone is in agreement. As they're about to leave, the Carmine party joins them. According to them, the Fullbound party has already gone further inside. However, Juke mentions that they can't go after Fullbound since they're with Nibiruun. Together they exit Glad She'im. Juke understands that to escape their fate, the people of this world made a wish, and he wonders if the present state of the world is a result of that wish. Juke, Maria, and Rain explain the whole thing to Betabor, Bodeman, and Maniela. The dungeon is a city called Glad She'im. They had a crisis, and to save his people, King Vorden, the king, used a special magic to transport his world to theirs. The hard fact is that the monsters are the people of Glad She'im, whose humanity was sacrificed. Juke illustrates this with one of the rings, placing it in Rain's equipment, which has finally been completed. The equipment helps with the ring's appraisal. Rain begins, and the ring projects an image of Glad She'im. Juke explains that the rings store the information of the people. King Vorden's magic was imperfect. It was too difficult for the human body to cross dimensions, and so he had a crazy idea that it would be easier if they weren't humans. Maria mentions that King Vordan was in possession of the 1 gold, and they don't know where he got it from or what it is. The 1 gold granted the king his wish, creating golden rings. He gave the rings to them and did what needed to be done. But due to the imperfect magic and the sunset effect, the people turned into monsters, and Glad She'im appeared in this world as a dungeon. Betabor wonders if they can just let the world exist, but Juke mentions that according to the golden priestess, it's best if they destroy it. After thinking for a while, Betabor gives Juke the go-ahead and takes on his duties as the hero. Juke and Rain walk down the streets. His mind is clouded and he's determined to save the people of his world. Rain notices this and tries to get him to ease up. Their journey is soon interrupted by a chariot. A man steps down from it and approaches them both as his targets. They don't know who he is, but he introduces himself as Rain's uncle. He assumes Rain got his letter and asks her to come with him at once. Juke stops him, stating that he probably has the wrong person. The man knows Juke's name, apparently. Everybody does. He mentions to Juke that Rain belongs to his family and now he'll be taking her back. But Juke still doesn't step aside, explaining that he was told that Rain has no family. The man is done asking and sends his soldiers to get Rain. But Juke easily ridicules and puts them to sleep with his spell. The man is shocked. He crashes out, introducing himself as Bran Crowder, the representative of Count Crowder's household. He points out that Rain is the daughter of Dimit, the current head of the household. That being said, he orders Juke once again to hand Rain over, but Juke bluntly refuses. Bran is really pissed. He mentions that Rain's marriage to the Salmutarian royal family has been decided, but Juke states that he doesn't know anything about that, nor would he acknowledge it. He asks for proof that Rain is from the Count's family, and Bran has nothing to show for it. Juke concludes that the Crowder family just wants to abduct Rain and sell her off to the Salmutarian royal family to establish ties with them without approval for their personal profit. Bran is out of meaningful words. He mentions that Rain would benefit from it as she'll become queen. He mentions that the time has come for her to be useful to the family and asks her once again to come with him, adding that her father wants to see her. Rain is now pissed. She casts a spell and scares Bran away, mentioning that she is of the Clover party and that she has no intentions of seeing Dimit. Bran flees angrily. They're relieved to have gotten rid of him. Juke is glad he had Mamar destroy all evidence that proved that Rain is connected to the Crowder family. Bran nervously breaks the disappointment to the second prince of Salmutaria, Mastuma. He asks for a little more time to be able to get Rain, but the prince reminds him that the deadline is due. Bran pleads for more time, promising to get everything in place. Mastuma finally agrees. After all, he really needs Rain, as he claims there are things she can help him with that his other wives can't. Just then, an evil thought comes to his mind, and he requests that Bran bring Rain's friends along. He wants to take them as well, maybe as his consorts or something. He promises Bran 5 times the original amount he was to be paid. This amount motivates Bran so much that he's more determined to get his hands on Clover than Luffy is to find the One Piece. Juke has a meeting with the other members of Clover and explains their objectives. They're to destroy the One Gold, and to do this, they'll have to head into the deepest part of Glad Shiime. Juke speculates that the One Gold would probably be in the king's royal chamber. He highlights that it won't be an easy task, but he'll need their help. They're all in. That being said, they all share chores and leave Juke to rest. But Juke is so anxious that he wants to plan their attack first. Considering he's been overthinking and probably even stayed up last night, Silk and Rain force him to take a break, dragging him into the hot spring. A couple of days later, Nibiruun went missing. She was reportedly taken by the Full-Bound party. As much as everyone blames themselves for it, Juke just needs them to get their heads straight and find Nibiruun. Clover and the other parties assemble before the dungeon. Juke points out their objective, mentioning that they'd find Nibiruun and then right afterwards go after the One Gold. He asks for the aid of Lucent, Morona, and their party members, and they assure him they've got his back. Together, they all set out for the mission. On arriving at Glad Shiime, they encounter a bunch of creatures. Lucent and Morona are on it and ask Juke and his team to continue to the goal and not be distracted. Together with their respective parties, they battle the creatures. Juke is thankful and continues the mission. As they advance, they encounter another obstacle. This time, despite the fact that the creatures outnumber them, Lucent and his team have it under control while Clover advances even further into the castle. Meanwhile, Manella and Bodeman are watching. Nina analyzes their path and deduces that Full-Bound and Nibiruun are headed for the royal chamber too. It seems they'll have their face-off at the destination. Just as they're about to advance, Juke quickly senses danger and asks them to be on alert, but it turns out to be Loge. Juke reveals to Loge that he has learnt a lot about him and Glad Shiime. He mentions that Loge is the son of King Vordan and that Nibiruun is the daughter of Loge's younger sister. So basically, Nibiruun is the granddaughter of King Nibiruun. Loge mentions that Nibiruun is the key that was left behind. He says his father, Vordan, made a mistake. He was never able to rule so many people. Loge hopes Juke can make the right decision. With this, he vanishes. They finally get to the royal chamber, and from outside, they can already hear Zacard. Silk unleashes Biblion to scout and alert them if there's any danger. They brace themselves and head in, intending to rescue Nibiruun and destroy the One Gold. The Full-Bound party members rejoice as they loot a lot of expensive items from the royal chamber. Clover comes barging in and Juke immediately asks about Nibiruun. Marina draws their attention to the throne where, surprisingly, Kind Vordan is seated. Besides him is Nibiruun, lying unconsciously. Clover just needs Full-Bound to stay out of their way, but Zacard points out that the dungeon has already been conquered by them. He states that they've won. Bro was doing all this just to be first. At this point, Juke is really pissed. Full-Bound isn't getting out of the way and is in fact preparing to clash. Silk mentions that they shouldn't have to fight each other, but Zacard's mind is made up. After all, he never liked them from the start. Now everyone is mad and squared up, ready to fight. Zacard then calls on King Vordan, wishing for power. King Vordan raises his staff, and with golden rays of light shining from above his throne, it is granted. Juke and the others can feel the strange aura in the room. Zacard reveals a gold ring on his finger. His party mates have one each too. Juke and the others are stunned, and Zacard explains that they knew Clover and the others were hiding something. They came and learned for themselves, asking the king to show them how to use it. They all power up like Super Saiyans, laughing maniacally. Zacard has discarded everything he was briefed on concerning the mission. What the rings are, he's blinded by its power. Zacard gives the order of attack and his team goes after Clover. Funnily, even with their wish for strength, they're still getting smoked out by a group of girls. Clover easily defeats them, but this isn't over. After they've all fallen, they start to transform into monsters. I'm guessing that power comes with some modifications and the severe need for skincare because, what is this? They begin their second bout, but this time, Full-Bound overwhelms Clover. Even with Juke's enhancements, their attacks deal no lasting damage. Just then, Lucent arrives. He apologizes for being late and gets filled in on the situation. The rest of the other parties also pull up like the blipped Avengers and Avengers. Endgame's final battle. They assure Clover that they'd take care of Zacard while Juke and the others continue to the objective. Full-Bound is really formidable, but the other parties seem to be able to hold their own. Clover advances to Nibiruun with the mindset of beating up up King Vorden if he interferes. But before they can make it to him, King Vorden jumps down to them. He's definitely not going to let them through. Marina leads the attack with enhancements from Juke, but the difference in strength is really obvious as King Vorden easily counters and attacks her. Barely escaping, she tries again. Everyone's hands get on deck as they realize this isn't going to be an easy task. Everything they throw at Vordan seems pointless as he brushes it off like it's nothing. They fight on for quite a while, and finally, through combined efforts, they find a way to make fatal attacks and take down King Vorden. It's mostly just Rain's spell, but yeah, Juke enhanced and the other helped in one way or the other. The fight is finally over, but King Vorden still stands. After everything that has been thrown at him, he doesn't bite the dust. What a fierce man. Wait, nope, he's done. It's just his ashes. Everyone is relieved. Considering she expelled so much mana, Rain is really exhausted. However, Juke refreshes her mana and hands her over to Marina. He wants to go ahead and destroy the one gold, the golden shiny object above the throne. By this time, Nibiruun has been saved. Juke is about to go ahead when Nibiruun holds him back, drawing his attention to the ashes of King Vordan. The gold ring in the midst of it seems to be trying to revive him. Juke hurries and makes the dangerous but necessary decision. He uses Lady Persephone's powers once again to destroy the ring, stopping the revival process. That would have been a disastrous comeback, but this has serious effects on him as he seems hurt. Lucent and Morona, alongside their parties, join them. They just have to destroy the one gold and it'll all be over. But Juke says something still bothers him, and he doesn't really know what it is. He just doesn't believe everything is over yet. That being said, Maria mentions that they'd leave the rest to Juke as only he can destroy the one gold. He won't be needing any backups either. However, Nibiruun wants to stay as she believes she can help. She is technically the golden priestess, so she believes the one gold won't affect her. Unlike the others who would most likely get drenched in the twilight and be overtaken by the sunset, Juke thinks it's fine if Nibiruun stays behind too, mentioning that at any rate, if anything bad were to happen, it'll just happen to both of them instead of everyone. This triggers his worried team. They don't want him to do this alone. Rain asks Nibiruun if there's a way they can help, but she says no. Nibiruun points out that Juke is special, and Rain knows this. Finally, they accept Juke's decision regardless of how much it sucks. They all hug him like he's about to go toe-to-toe with the old lady from Madagascar, Nana. Finally, they all exit the royal chamber, leaving Juke and Nibiruun behind as they requested. As they approach the throne, they're surprised to see Loge on it. He had succeeded the throne after his father died like what, 2 minutes ago? Dude, chill. Juke wonders if they'll have to fight him next, but Loge has no intentions of that. He's there to help. Persephone's power effect is quite troubling to Juke, but Nibiruun promises him that she'll keep it under control. Juke wants to know if the sunset will end after he destroys the one gold. According to Loge, the one gold is the sunset. It has been around since ancient times, traveling from world to world, different timelines, until it finally got to King Vordan. Destroying it means destroying the sunset itself. That being said, they begin the procedure. The spell is cast, but amidst this, something becomes clear to Juke. Simon has been stuck in eternity, unable to die since their battle, cursing everything in the world until he changed his form to the one gold and traveled across many worlds. Juke feels genuinely bad. He wants to grant Simon his wish and let him rest in peace. Just as the one gold gets destroyed, Juke bids his friend goodbye. It is done, and now the sunset has been destroyed. Everything is gone and only the achromatic darkness remains. This is where Loge says his goodbyes. Juke asks if the reason Nibiruun was able to survive coming to his world without being affected by sunset was because Loge and her father wished for it long ago, and Loge affirms. Juke wonders why Loge didn't just wish for his own happiness instead, but Loge mentions that his happiness is in the past. Right now, he just wants to go out peacefully, reuniting with his sister, Nibiruun's mother. He says farewell to Nibiruun, asking her to live to the fullest as her parents could not. Finally, he vanishes. Juke wants to head home and asks Nibiruun to come with him, but she hesitates, wondering if it's okay for her to come along considering she's not of his world. However, Juke doesn't feel like it matters. To him, he has an obligation to keep by helping her live on. Together, they start their journey back home. Rain once again encounters Bran. Although she doesn't want to talk, Bran has a calmer and smarter approach. He knows Rain is looking for Juke, who still hasn't returned from the achromatic darkness, and mentions that he can help. According to him, an item called the Seeker's Compass. Apparently, it can lead its users to whatever they seek, as it'll reveal the location. Rain is really interested in this object as she wants to find Juke, but Bran says he doesn't have it. The compass is in the custody of Mastoma. Bran mentions that Rain can try negotiating with Mastoma for it, and maybe he'll lend it to her. Rain seems skeptical but finally believes Bran when he pretends to be leaving. According to Bran, Mastoma, being royalty, is really busy, so she had best follow him immediately. This is one of those scenes where you yell at a character not to do something stupid. He assures her that he'll write a letter and have it sent to her friends. That being said, Rain walks into Bran's carriage. Bran has an evil grin that his plan is coming together. He mocks Juke's alleged death, promising to buy flowers for his grave with money from selling Rain. Meanwhile, in the achromatic darkness, Juke just keeps wandering. The place doesn't have any directions and it just seems like walking in space. Juke isn't sure if he's making progress at all, and in this moment, just as he's lost in thought, he hears Rain's voice calling out to him from a light up ahead. Both Juke and Nibiruun gamble on the idea that the light is probably the entrance. Together, they make a run for it. After going through the light, they find themselves underwater. Juke is quick enough to grab Nibiruun and swim to shore. door. They're all wet and cold, so Juke decides to make a fire to warm them up while their clothes dry. He believes he knows where they are and mentions that they aren't too far from Duna. Getting back would be easier once they make it to the road, and they're both eager to be home with the rest of their members. After a while of traveling, Juke and Nibiruun finally make it to the others. Silk and Marina hurry to welcome them. They seem to be excited, shocked, and shedding tears of relief. Juke feels it's not that deep, but Marina points out that they've been gone for weeks. They were so worried they couldn't sleep. Juke deduces that time runs differently in the achromatic darkness. This is how Simon was able to travel for ages. Finally grasping how serious the situation is, Juke hurries and comforts Marina and Silk, who are bawling their eyes out. He apologizes for making them worry. Now that is out of the way, Juke notices Rain and Nini aren't present. He asks about them, but no immediate answers are given. After Marina takes Nibiruun in, Silk reveals to Juke that Rain has been missing for 2 days. You don't say. She shows Juke a message sent by Rain. In the letter, she says she's going to be gone for a while in search of Juke. However, the message was delivered by a messenger of Bran, which is already a red flag. They said she won't be returning and that if Clover ever wanted to talk to Rain, they would have to go to Mastuma's mansion in the center of Duna. Juke commends Silk for her efforts while he was away, and since he's back, he has taken over responsibility. He assures her that he'll get Rain back. Although Silk feels Juke should rest a bit first, he'd rather rest after he finds Rain. He immediately leaves to meet Nani, who is scouting the area. Juke and Nani make it to the mansion. There are a bunch of guards and they can't possibly sneak through. Juke suggests they engage, and just when they jump out about to throw hands, one of the soldiers recognizes him by mentioning his name. They seem to be expecting Juke and peacefully allow him through, leaving Nene behind. Juke approaches Mastuma and pays his respects, addressing him formally as he is a noble. However, Mastuma prefers to skip the pleasantries and asks Juke directly what his objective is. Juke replies that he has come to retrieve Rain. In response, Mastoma takes offense, pointing out that it sounds as if he has stolen Rain from Juke. According to Mastoma, Rain came to him on her own. Just then, Rain is brought into the room. She rushes forward and excitedly hugs Juke upon seeing him. Mastoma looks impressed and states that Rain has won their bet. She had made a deal with Mastoma, promising to be his if Juke turned out to be truly dead. It was a risky gamble, and Mastoma commends her for her courage, expressing regret that he couldn't make her his. As long as Juke is alive, Mastoma can't take Rain. However, he still calls Juke out for pulling the marriage trick, although he doesn't seem to be pissed off. Bran comes into the room steaming. He won't be getting paid, and considering the effort he put into making things work out, his reaction is understandable. He can't believe Juke is still very much alive. Mastoma points out to Bran that he has tried to trick him. He didn't have any idea that Rain belonged to Juke, and after Rain revealed it to him, he had to look into it himself. He was able to find proof of what Rain said. Also, he learned that Juke is an A-rank adventurer with the current title of hero. All this is coming as a shock to Bran. He was backwards on his information, almost as far behind as his hairline. Considering he falsely claimed another man's property to be his and tried to illegally sell her to another nation, Mastoma is really pissed with Bran. He assures Bran that he'll pay for the humiliation, and he orders his guards to rough him up and throw him out. Bran pleads as he's being dragged away. Mastoma apologizes for everything, and the atmosphere is now clear. However, there appears to be an issue, and Rain encourages Mastoma to present it to Juke, assuring him that Juke will be able to help. Mastoma tells Juke that he wants to conquer a dungeon. He explains that the battle for succession in Salmutaria has intensified, and he believes that if he's to be king, conquering a dungeon is essential as it'll show his strength. His country has been known to not have any dungeons, but Mastoma reveals that it's all a lie. Although Juke feels the information is too sensitive to be shared with him, Mastoma tells him anyway. He plans on conquering a dungeon in Salmutaria, but his only hiccup is the unavailability of proper adventurers, which is really why he needed Rain. Mastoma believes there is more to the dungeon than meets the eye, which is why it has been kept a secret all along. He suspects that something related to the Salmutarian royal bloodline may be hidden within, speculating that the scepter of true kingship must be there. In Salmutaria, the criteria for succession to the throne are based on achievements. However, years ago, the scepter was the deciding factor. After spilling the beans, Mastuma explains that this is why he was interested in Rain. Rain then questions why Mastuma had his sights set on Clover. Mastuma responds that he heard Clover's party was one of the most accomplished in the country. Bran had also mentioned that she would be really useful to him. Rain still points out that an alliance like that wouldn't have trust, but Mastuma doesn't seem to understand why it's different, considering the girls from Clover all follow and listen to Juke. Rain clarifies that this is because they all like him. Mastuma does still get it, until his wife Majarna explains to him. Unlike in Salmutaria, the girls here have their own will and rights. Finally understanding everything, Mastuma realizes he went about it the wrong way. At the end of the day, Juke and Rain decide to talk to the others about Mastoma's quest before taking any actions. As they walk home, Juke apologizes to Rain for being absent and for making her worry. She explains that she made use of the Seeker's compass to find him and direct him to the exit, the light Juke saw back in the achromatic darkness. Juke is grateful to Rain for saving his life. She had faith in Juke, and considering that Mastoma agreed to her bet, she feels he is different from other Salmutarians. Juke feels the same too, and they both have the thought of actually helping him out. Maniela, Betabor, and Bodaman come along to visit Juke. They're relieved he was able to make it and urge him to get some rest before before he briefs them on everything. There's an emphasis on Juke resting as he's known for constantly working. After eating, Marina takes Juke to the hot spring. Meanwhile, Rain has to face Silk's wrath for acting on her own. What should have been a peaceful time in the hot spring has turned into a large tease party as everyone decides to join him in the spring. 1 week after Juke's return, he submits a comprehensive report on their findings in Glad She Im. Maniela and Bedibor are impressed that he was able to put it together in just a week, but Juke credits the help of everyone in Clover, especially Silk. Silk jokingly mentions that they only made sure he didn't stay up all night writing the report, which makes everyone laugh. Bedibor presents his report from the academy. The dimension that Juke and Nibiruun traveled through will be officially documented as Juke's discovery. Manila adds that Bedibor also took care of the matter regarding Bran. Curious, Juke asks what Bedibor did, and the man replies that he reported Bran to the king. Juke is shocked that the king paid any attention to the concerns of lowly adventurers like them. Bedibor tells Juke that he is too modest, reminding him that Clover is a popular and talented party that completed the state mission with flying colors. He mentions that the king watched their stream and liked it, which surprises both Juke and Silk. Bedibor continues. They have received an official message from Prince Mastuma stating that he will ensure Bran is held accountable for the trouble he caused. Bran is currently in confinement and awaiting trial. Maniela notes that they now owe Mastuma in addition to the Seeker's Compass. Juke tries to bring up the dungeon Mastuma mentioned, but Maniela is already aware of it. Juke believes that the prince can be trusted and thinks it would be a good opportunity for Clover to assist him. Bedibor agrees, saying they will discuss that. The final discussion of the day is about Nibiruun. Juke shares that Nibiruun has agreed to join Clover, which pleases Bedibor. He tells Juke that they can come to him if they ever run into trouble. Maniela asks when they will return to Finis, and Silk replies that they plan to make preparations and thank everyone who helped them first, then begin their trip home in 3 days. However, Maniela informs them that Scordia and Carmine have already set off on new missions. This makes Silk and Juke sad, but Bedibor encourages them that as long as they remain adventurers, they will surely encounter Scordia and Carmine again. Juke agrees, saying they need to improve as well. Bedibor and Bodemon will head back to Finis first. Bedibor thanks Juke again for saving the world. Although Juke is still getting used to being called a hero, he thanks Bedibor in return. On their way back, Juke and Silk are glad to have completed the quest. They can now rest, but there is shopping to do the next day. Juke offers to help Silk, but she refuses. Juke insists until Silk reminds him of the Neen time he promised. Silk advises him to invite Nini out. Juke is unsure what to do for their special time together, but Silk reassures him that anything is fine as long as Nini is having fun. Silk then feels a pang of jealousy and wishes she had also held back from hugging him. Maybe she would have her own special day. Juke doesn't hear her comment and asks what she said, but Silk gets flustered and brushes it off. At home, Juke stands nervously in front of Nini's door. He tells himself not to overthink it and knocks. Nene casually permits him to enter, but is startled when she realizes who it is. She asks what he came for and becomes excited before he even says it. Juke asks her to think about what she would like to do, suggesting they forget everything and enjoy their time together. Then he leaves, and Nine is thrilled. The next day, they decide to go for a drink first, which is apparently what Nine wants. Juke, the workaholic, finds himself spacing out and overthinking again. Nine reminds him that they are supposed to let loose and have fun, to which Juke apologizes. Nini is satisfied and ready to enjoy herself. Next, they go to check out the bazaar. Nini excitedly grabs Juke's arm, flustering him. She teases him about it. Juke admits that he may know a lot about other things, but he doesn't know how to have a date with a cute girl. It's now Nani's turn to blush. As they arrive at the bazaar, Nani sees many things she's never seen before. She eagerly pulls Juke along as she checks out various stalls. Juke offers to pay for whatever she wants, but Nini insists on paying for herself. Eventually, Juke manages to convince her to let him pay. Nine, however, struggles to choose what she wants. Juke encourages her to be selfish, not just when it comes to shopping, but in everything. He tells her that she's allowed to express whatever is on her mind. Nene is excited to take him up on his words. It's time to leave Duna. Juke thanks Maniela and Fina for their hospitality. Fina requests that they visit again, and Marina and the girls immediately accept. They want to return to the hot spring, even wishing they could take it with them. Juke agrees to visit again, and they set off back to Finis. During their journey, they have fun until they finally arrive home. The townspeople are happy to see their favorite adventurers return. The party feels loved and is glad to be home. Juke stops by the guild to report to Benwood while the others head home without him. Mamar welcomes Juke, who takes the opportunity to thank her for helping with Rain's issue. He starts listing what she did, even mentioning the fake family register, but Mamar quickly hushes him. Not many people know about her side hustle. Juke thanks her once more, and Mamar wonders how he will repay this debt. In Benwood's office, Juke updates him on everything that has happened. Benwood mentions that he has already heard most of the details from Maniela. Juke then brings up Mastoma, to which Benwood responds that they have begun taking action but might not be able to do much immediately. He asks Juke to be patient for a while. Regarding the quest reward, Benwood tells Juke that he will deposit it into Clover's account, as it is too much to hand over in cash. Juke is surprised, but Benwood reminds him that it was a quest issued by the kingdom, and they had successfully completed it, so of course the reward would be huge. Suddenly, Jamie barges into the room to see Juke and starts inspecting him to make sure he's alright. Benwood teasingly talks about how inconsolable she was when she heard Juke had gone missing. He mocks mocks her for saying she would go to Duna to rescue him, adding that she even cried. Jamie pleads with Benwood to stop and denies crying when Juke apologizes for worrying her. She insists that she was only concerned about getting her brother's medicine. Juke laughs about it, and they continue to tease Jamie until she eventually joins in the laughter. Jamie informs Juke that she handled Clover's base with the real estate agent while the party was away. She assures him it's clean and well stocked with enough food to last them a while. She instructs Juke to get plenty of rest when he goes back. Juke thanks her and suggests they throw a party to celebrate their homecoming, to which Jamie readily agrees. At Clover Mansion, the real estate agent, Monday, informs them that he remodeled the small room upstairs for Nibiruun and fixed a few other issues. He expresses his relief that they are back safe and encourages them to rest. Nibiruun is excited to live with her new family. Just then, Juke arrives. He praises them for their success on the mission, suggesting they take a few days off to rest before making new plans. They agree, but insist that he needs the most rest. Marina remembers that Scordia is doing their stream and wants to watch it with Nene and Nibiruun, but Silk stops them, instructing them to unpack first. They beg to be allowed to watch instead, but she pays them no mind until Nibiruun pulls her cutie card, making it impossible for Silk to resist. Juke takes some time alone to watch the sunset when Rain approaches to join him. She notices that he is lost in thought. Juke admits he can't help but think about their next steps. Rain reminds him that he just asked everyone else to rest, so he should do the same. She reassures him that he's been amazing and has helped them a lot, though Juke feels he is the one receiving help from them. Rain tells him it's okay to be himself and suggests they let loose and have fun. She adds that if he gets drunk, she'll stay with him until morning. Juke agrees, and they head off to join the others. The next day, Juke has a visitor, Benwood, accompanied by a mysterious man. He states that they have urgent business to discuss. Juke invites them in, and the mysterious man reveals himself to be King Vincent. Juke immediately bows, but Vincent assures him that it's unnecessary, as he is there simply as Benwood's friend. Benwood encourages Juke to loosen up, and Juke tries to relax as he takes a seat nervously. Silk comes out with tea for Benwood and his companion. Upon seeing Vincent, she freezes in shock. Juke quickly takes the tray from her, likely to prevent her from dropping it. Vincent states that he has something important to discuss and wants Silk to join them. They all take their seats, and the discussion begins. Vincent goes straight to the point. He wants to address Mastoma's request to defeat the dungeon. He received a letter from Mastoma, and to summarize, he has decided that their kingdom will intervene. He thanks Juke for his report, and both adventurers bow their heads in acknowledgement. Vincent says they are too stiff for young adventurers and expects them to behave a bit more casually. However, Juke explains that they cannot do that, as he has already honored them with a promotion to rank A. This reminds Vincent, and he pulls out a box from his Power Ranger's jacket. He informs Juke that it is a reward in advance for the next request. Juke opens the box to find a nobility badge inside. Vincent and Benwood congratulate him on becoming a dungeon count. Just like Benwood, this title is awarded only to adventurers who have mastered dungeon conquest. It's the highest honor an adventurer can receive. While Silk is happy for Juke, Bro doesn't feel he deserves such an honor. Vincent insists on keeping the title as they move on with the discussion. Vincent announces that he has discussed dispatching adventurers to Salmuteria. Juke thinks the timing is soon, but Vincent explains that they must act quickly as strange things are happening with dungeons. He mentions that they are running a trial involving both personnel and equipment, with the intention of forming a tech alliance between the two nations. He shows them the signed contracts for the trial of streaming artifacts and for the establishment of a temporary adventurers guild. Silk realizes that the entire nation is now involved, not just Clover. Benwood clarifies that Yume may have wanted to respond to the request personally, but doing so would create political problems. Vincent adds that the timing is perfect, as Salmuteria has already approached them about sharing their streaming technology. Vincent says that they have Mastoma's permission for the trials, but if the operation is too large, it could cause confusion. Therefore, the trials will initially take place in a remote area under Mastoma's supervision, Death Valley. Vincent has asked Mastoma to build a town there, which will take about 6 months, meaning Clover will have to wait until then. Finally, Vincent presents Juke with a royal order to be the official adventurer dispatched by the kingdom. Juke feels honored but requests 6 more badges as advance payment before he signs it. Vincent agrees that it can be arranged. Grateful, Juke thanks him and signs the document. Months later, it's time for the party to depart for Salmuteria. They will be traveling on a magic airship, and the girls are completely impressed and excited to ride it. However, Silk is nervous and refuses to believe that it actually works. Mamar arrives with Benwood to see them off. Benwood will be joining them on the adventure to Salmuteria, and he assures the group that Mamar will be capable of leading the guild in his absence. Juke questions whether Benwood is truly suited for the adventure, to which Benwood replies that he'd last longer in case of a stampede, buying enough time for them to escape. Valid point. Juke doesn't push further. Benwood warns that the dungeon was sealed for a reason, so they should be prepared for anything. Mamar hands Juke a box containing the advance payment he was promised. Juke gives each of his girls a badge, fulfilling their promise to get something matching. Jamie is surprised to receive one, especially since she had been suspended from adventuring. Just then, Benwood presents her with a pardon from the king, allowing Jamie to return to adventuring. Marina and the others are excited to have her back. Mamar reassures Jamie that she doesn't need to worry about her brother, as she will take care of him. Jamie expresses her gratitude. As it's time for the ship to depart, everyone boards and waves goodbye, but Silk clings to Juke. At the captain captain's command, the ship takes off. After a while, Silk becomes accustomed to being in the air and releases her grip on Yuke's shirt to join the others. Bodeman is also on the ship. When Yuke greets him, Bodeman suggests he be less formal since he is now a dungeon count as well. However, Yuke can't suddenly change. Bodeman mentions that he is accompanying them to supervise the streaming equipment being set up in Salmutaria, and Yuke offers his help as he is an alchemist. Benwood accepts the offer. The conversation shifts to the king's risky decision regarding their mission. Rain joins in, and Yuke explains that Vincent's support for Prince Mastoma means he will have influence in the royal succession. Yuke notes that if someone else becomes king of Salmutaria, it could reflect poorly on Wellmelia, their country. Bodeman adds that the outcome depends on how Yuke does on the job. That's some unnecessary pressure, bro, but we know our hero is up to the task, right? Just before bedtime, Yuke visits his ladies. He explains that the badges are not only proof of their membership in Clover, but also signify that they belong to Dungeon Count Yuke Feldio. This would be some aura moment, but bro is as nervous as a mouse asked to perform in front of cats. He tries to regain his composure and reminds them that Salmutaria is a male-dominated society. Being his property could help protect them from trouble with the men. He acknowledges that they may not like it, but hopes they can understand. To his surprise, the girls accept this without hesitation. Nebrun adds that it means they are all his wives. The girls become excited, but Yuke quickly clarifies that it's just on paper, dampening the mood. Nonetheless, they continue to tease him with silly questions. Nene asks who should be considered the head wife, and Yuke chooses Rain. He believes she is the best fit since she is familiar with Mastoma and knows the full story. The girls are satisfied with his choice, and Yuke leaves while being playfully teased once again. Poor guy. Oh, the absolute horror of having 6 wives. Rain steps out after him for some head wife duties. None of our business what they talk about, but it ends with a hug. A few days later, the ship arrives at Salmutaria. They are supposed to land by a lake, and it will take some time to offload their belongings. Mastoma is sending people to meet them, but they may have to spend the night by the lake instead of traveling. Bodeman agrees with not traveling at night. As the ship lands, they are greeted by rough-looking men who certainly don't look like the ones Mastoma would send. Yuke suspects they are bandits, and from the timing, Benwood agrees that someone set this up. The group prepares to beat some hospitality into the bandits. The next morning, Mastoma explains that a bridge on their route had been destroyed, which caused their delay. Yuke is too busy bowing to respond. Mastoma tells him it isn't necessary and says he'd like to speak with him as an equal, but Yuke refuses, forcing Mastoma to pull him upright. Mastoma officially welcomes Yuke and thanks him for agreeing to help. As for the bandits, they were sent by Mastoma's older brother. Out of all his siblings, he's especially incompatible with Rafuma, who's just a year older. Mastoma says his brother has even tried sending him to meet their ancestors, but he's beaten Rafuma at his own game every time. He orders his men to take the bandits away, then warns Yuke to be careful. Mastoma still finds Yuke's excessive politeness uncomfortable. Majarna steps in, explaining to Yuke that Mastoma just wants to be his friend. She also tells Mastoma to speak more casually with Yuke. Mastoma takes her advice immediately, but Yuke doesn't know how to respond. Rain joins them, saving Yuke from the awkwardness. After some light conversation, Majarna asks Yuke to be her husband's friend. She teases that it's rare to see him acting so adorably. Yuke bows respectfully, saying he'd love to be friends. Mastoma gets annoyed. Yuke still can't loosen up. Mastoma invites them to Rajo, the new town he built. 2 days later, they arrive. Everyone is impressed, and Nibarun praises Mastoma, which he clearly enjoys. The Adventurers Guild is impressive as well. Benwood speaks so casually with Mastoma that Yuke gets concerned, but the prince loves it. Next, Mastoma leads them to a massive mansion. When Yuke asks what it's for, Mastoma gets frustrated by how dense Yuke can be sometimes and spells it out. The mansion is for Yuke. There's even a banner there. How did they miss it? Mastoma beams with pride, but Yuke insists it's too big. Mastoma says Yuke could use a bit of indulgence. He reminds him he's a dungeon count with 5 wives. Nibarun starts counting and realizes she's been left out, which doesn't please her. Mastoma continues trying to convince Yuke. He says Yuke is a hero and a friend to an aspiring king. There's no way he can let him stay in some shabby lodge. People would talk. Yuke finally understands and agrees to stay. Mastoma is pleased. That evening, Yuke and Silk relax under the moonlight. While the others sleep soundly in their luxurious beds, the two plan their next steps. Yuke jokes that Mastoma could probably become an accomplished king just by exporting those beds. Silk notes that the stars in Salmutaria and Wellmelia look different from the ones back in her hometown. When Yuke asks if she ever misses it, she admits she doesn't. She has Yuke and the others now, but sometimes feels a little nostalgic. She says she'd like to visit someday. Yuke shows interest, but Silk warns that humans aren't exactly welcome there. Still, she says she'd love to bring him along, but they have to finish the king's order first. At this point, we can tell this is the calm before the chaos. 2 weeks later, at the temporary Adventurers Guild, Mastoma briefs the team on how to reach the dungeon in the Royal Mausoleum. Yuke explains that Clover will explore Death Valley while clearing the path. Bodeman will continue inspecting the large streaming artifacts. They still haven't started working properly. Benwood will be busy organizing background checks for the Salmutarians applying as adventurers in training. He asks to borrow Jamie. She has worked at the guild for over 6 months and has some experience. Yuke says the decision is hers, but Benwood reminds him she's part of Clover, so he needs Yuke's permission. Fair point. Yuke asks Jamie if she wants to do it, and she gladly agrees. Nibarun asks Yuke what her role will be, and he tells her to stay at the guild for now. He explains that they're only scouting and will need her later. Nibiruun makes him promise before agreeing to stay with Benwood and Jamie. Juke is ready to head out. The place is so dry it makes you thirsty just looking at it. Huge, confusing, and crawling with weird monsters. It might as well be a dungeon. There's no safety area either, which makes it even more dangerous. Silk senses something off. She says the spirit energy in the area feels disturbed. Juke thinks that might mean the valley itself is unstable. He instructs everyone to be careful. There's a chance an overflow is happening. Everyone feels uneasy. They can't tell if it's an overflow, a stampede, or another culling. Juke suggests they camp out to investigate properly. They're not sure if they can stream yet, but Marina tells Kamrat to keep recording. As night falls, they set up camp. Juke still can't shake his unease. Something feels wrong in the direction of the dungeon. Rain feels it too. Silk calls Juke over so they can go over their plans for the next day before turning in. First, they'll confirm the dungeon's exact location. If possible, they'll check inside to get a sense of the surroundings and determine whether an overflow is really happening. If the investigation takes longer than expected, they'll camp again before returning to their lodge. Suddenly, the air shifts. Everyone tenses and gets on defense mode. Juke's curse begins to act up. Even Nine feels weird. He comforts her and asks her to check the surroundings. Silk is frightened, but Juke reassures her that he'll handle whatever it is. They all wonder why they can feel such a strong presence when the dungeon should still be far away. Nina returns with bad news. An army of monsters is approaching from the east. Even worse, it's a mixed group. Usually, monsters that escape a dungeon during an overflow are all of one type. A mix can only mean something far worse, like a stampede. They don't wait to find out. Quickly, they pack up and prepare to return to Rajo. Juke says they'll have to push themselves hard to make it. He tells Silk to have Biblion stay alert for surprise attacks and instructs Rain to use detection magic. They have no idea what kinds of monsters come out at night, so if they run into them, they'll be fighting blind. Nene takes the lead while Marina covers the rear. Juke boosts everyone's energy and they start their run back. They first encounter two lizards. Juke casts a sleep mist spell to help Marina take them down, then they continue. Silk suddenly realizes that the valley is being influenced by a dungeon transformation, basically a prelude to a stampede or the birth of a new dungeon. If left unchecked, it could affect all of Salmutaria. Rain suddenly suggests that they go down a cliff. She casts a spell to control their fall, just in time to escape a massive mix of monsters. She says there are other spots where they can take shortcuts, and they keep moving. More monsters appear, but they don't slow down. They fight efficiently and eliminate every one of them until they finally reach the town. Juke and Silk rush to report to the others. Mastoma quickly realizes things are escalating into a serious mess. After reviewing the footage, Bodeman confirms it's indeed the prelude to a stampede. Mastoma asks how such situations are handled in Walmelia. Benwood explains that they usually send multiple parties to thin out the monsters' numbers and identify the cause. Bodeman adds that they sometimes bring in the army or the knights. Mastoma says Salmutaria has neither. He asks if it's possible to bring in adventurers from abroad. Benwood says it is, with permission and enough funding. Mastuma decides to ask his father for approval. Juke warns that revealing the dungeon could give Mastuma's brothers the chance to get ahead, but Mastuma doesn't care. Protecting his people comes first. He bows deeply, requesting help from Walmelia and promising to take full responsibility. Benwood and Juke agree to help him. Benwood, Juke, Mastoma, and Bodeman hold a meeting to decide their next course of action. What they need most right now is time. Benwood explains that the king plans to gather the highest ranked adventurers and send them over on the magic airship, but that'll take at least a month and even longer to prepare for a proper counterstrike. Juke asks if they can hold out for a month. Benwood says no, but adds that he'll be joining them. Juke feels reassured to have Benwood the Tyrant Fist on their side. Still, Benwood notes that they'll be short on manpower, and it depends on when Salmutaria's forces arrive and how effective they'll actually be. Mastoma says he has already summoned common soldiers, knights, and households who make a living hunting monsters, but it's taking them a while to arrive. He suspects it might be his brother's handiwork. Benwood concludes that they'll have to make do with the limited forces they have. Bodeman then suggests using alchemy to set traps along the monster's path, since attacking head-on would deplete both their forces and supplies too quickly. Instead, they should face the enemy with wits and resourcefulness. He asks Mastoma to gather all available alchemists. Benwood notices Juke hesitating and urges him to speak up. Juke suggests a quick attack, but immediately dismisses it himself. He admits that charging into a dungeon they've never seen and don't know the layout of would be a straight path to the afterlife. However, Benwood calls it a realistic plan. He points out that if they face the monsters head-on, they will definitely get cooked. Even artifacts won't last long. The only viable option is to take out the cause of the problem. Juke refuses, saying he can't endanger his friends. Benwood expected that response, but tells him to think it over. Later, Juke returns home and discusses it with the others. Silk agrees that their options are limited and that taking the offensive might be wiser than waiting to defend. Juke understands her reasoning, but reminds her that they would be the ones to carry it out. Silk already assumed that, but says her real concern lies with what Nibiruun mentioned earlier. Juke turns to Nibiruuni, who explains that there's something strange about the dungeon. She says it feels like its layers are peeling away, like the skin of an onion, getting closer and closer to revealing its true form. Rain adds that she suspects the seal has been lifted. That seal, she explains, was likely the reason no one could find the dungeon before. Someone had hidden it under layer and layer of seal and concealment. Juke sees the sense in that, but wonders why the seal would suddenly start unraveling. Then it hits him. It's because because of Glad She'im. Its influence must have revived the dungeon in the royal mausoleum. Nibiruun agrees, and Juke thanks her. He then asks for everyone's thoughts. Marina says she'll follow him as always, struggling to explain that it's not that she's foolish, she just trusts him completely. Silk helps her summarize, saying Marina simply wants to stay by Juke's side until the very end. Marina agrees. Silk adds that the same goes for her. No one objects. Jamie volunteers to stay behind with the guildmaster to defend. She admits she's still rusty after her long period of inactivity, but promises to hold the fort so they have a base to return to. Then she asks Juke to make the decision as their leader. Juke looks around at his teammates trying to make a decision. Rain reassures him that whatever he decides, she'll follow. Marina agrees, saying they'll be fine as long as they're with him. He's a hero after all, and with that, it's decided. Juke agrees to take on the mission. The next day, they all gather at the guild to plan the attack. Clover is scheduled to depart the following morning and will be carrying out not one, not two, but 3 simultaneous missions, because apparently, rest is for the weak. The first mission is to set up the relay artifacts for live streaming. Bodeman's job is to ensure the streams reach Rajo. The second mission involves securing the path to the royal mausoleum, inspecting the inside, and running a test stream. They want to determine whether the best way into the dungeon is through the main entrance or another route. If the stream successfully reaches Rajo, they'll continue with the inspection. The third and final mission is to conquer the royal mausoleum dungeon, cutting off the stampede at its source. Benwood tells Juke to leave the escaped monsters to them. Bodeman adds that, with the help of Salmutaria's alchemists, they'll set traps to wipe the creatures out. Juke asks if there are any questions. Nibiruun raises her hand. She wants to tag along. Silk warns her that Death Valley is extremely dangerous, but Nibiruun insists she can figure something out if they get her close to the royal mausoleum. Curious, Juke walks over and asks what she means. Nibiruun explains that, as the golden priestess, she can sense distortions, and Death Valley feels full of them. It's strange. Juke asks if it's like Glad She'im. She says, not quite. It's different, though she can't explain how. Suddenly, Marina scoops her up, saying Nibiruun should come with them. If she can sense something they can't, it might be a vital clue. The others agree, and Juke finally gives his approval. He urges everyone to rest well in preparation for dawn. They set out at first light. The next day, their mission begins. Juke places the artifacts at their designated spots. It takes more effort than expected. Definitely not a task for anyone who doesn't have an alchemist license or a death wish. He praises Bodeman for managing to set up so many. Rain activates the artifacts and then checks on Juke. Silk brings him water. He's been pushing himself too hard lately. When she tells him to relax, he smiles and says he trusts her to stop him if it becomes life-threatening. She's not amused. Juke insists he still has strength left. Meanwhile, Marina is staring blankly at the sky. When Juke approaches and asks what's wrong, she can't really put it into words. He gently pulls her into a hug, and she realizes it's anxiety. She relaxes in his arms as she feels better, but suddenly, Juke collapses. He gasps that the air feels heavy. Rain quickly helps him breathe deeply until he feels better. Nenny bursts back from scouting, announcing that there's an emergency. Without hesitation, Juke enhances everyone, and they follow her without any explanation. She leads them to a cliff and points toward the royal mausoleum. There's a strange black dome looming in the distance, ominous, mysterious, and absolutely not on the mission list. A chill runs through Juke. The sight feels eerily familiar, though he's sure he's never seen it before. His vision fades, and he almost loses consciousness for a moment. Then, he says they need to leave immediately. Silk asks Biblion to use its future prediction to check for danger. Juke tells Nibiruun to climb on his back, explaining that the monsters nearby are probably panicking because of the black dome. Nenny leads the way as they retreat. When they return, they go to report to Benwood and Mastoma, but something's clearly wrong. The air in the guild is tense. Juke asks one of the men what's going on. Apparently, Prince Rafuma, Mastoma's slightly older brother, has arrived and is demanding to take over the town and its broadcasting artifacts. Juke heads inside. Even from the hallway, he can hear Mastoma and Rafuma arguing. Entering, Juke greets Rafuma properly and introduces himself. Predictably, Rafuma responds with the warmth of a stone wall. If the wall hates you, Mastoma cuts him off and tells Juke to give his report. Juke tells him about the Black Dome and Death Valley. Mastoma asks what he thinks it is. Juke says he suspects it's the dungeon breaking out. Then, out of nowhere, Nibiruun appears in the room, her priestess aura radiating. She says it's not the dungeon, but their world's outer sea. Every world floats in a sea of darkness. Theirs is flipping inside out, starting from the dungeon. It's a reverse dungeon known in the ancient language as Tenebrae. She tells Juke it's the same void they once wandered through, a void where you can't tell top from bottom. Juke and Mastoma finally understand. If nothing is done, Salmutaria will sink into Tenebrae. Rafuma, who has been surprisingly quiet until now, suddenly snaps. He calls BS and blames it all on Juke and his people. He says things only got weird after they showed up. Mastoma barks at him to shut up or leave. The brothers glare at each other, venom in their eyes, before Rafuma gets up to return to his mansion. He says they will continue their discussion later. Mastoma apologizes to Juke. Just then, Benwood bursts in with urgent news. There are reports of black, dome-like walls appearing in multiple countries, 4 so far. He says it's the reawakening of the nightmare from 16 years ago. Juke looks confused. He has never heard of such an event. Benwood explains it was kept secret. His party had sealed Tenebrae back then, deep inside achromatic darkness. They managed to close the abyss gate that had opened. Mastoma asks to confirm if an abyss gate connects to another world world, and Juke confirms it. Nibiruun adds that achromatic darkness is the stairway linking worlds together. All dungeons originate from there and eventually return there. They're all one, connected through that darkness. The realization hits Juke. He tells Benwood that the abyss gate his party sealed has reopened, and the darkness is pouring out into every other dungeon. If they don't act soon, the entire world will be swallowed by tenebrae. He says they have to close the main opening. Nibiruun agrees. Juke concludes that they need to conquer achromatic darkness and seal the abyss gate again. Then the whole spilling over will stop, and the world will be saved. They must quickly return to the achromatic darkness in Finnise. A brief peep into the past. Years ago, Juke's uncle Saga and his companions Benwood, Mamar, and Maniela sealed the abyss gate. Benwood had feared that tenebrae would someday return and devour the world. Mamar and Maniela shared his concern, but Saga was hopeful. He believed that someday someone would carry on their will and save the world, a hero. He was right. Benwood realizes that Juke is a little too eager. He explains that closing the abyss gate isn't exactly a walk in the park. They need a proper investigation first. Moving through a dungeon that dangerous while protecting an investigation team is practically impossible. But Juke insists there's no need for that since their goal isn't to close it but to destroy it. Benwood tells him they already tried that and it wouldn't break no matter what they did. That's why they sealed it. Still, he's beginning to see a possible way to save the world. Benwood says he'll send a letter to King Vincent, asking him to dispatch a ship so they can return to Finis and to issue a royal order to gather A-rank adventurers. Juke adds that they'll also need an advanced investigation to know what's happening inside achromatic darkness now. However, that'll take at least 2 weeks and Juke can't wait that long. There's simply no time. Benwood orders him to chill out, reminding him that he hasn't slept since the day before. He says they'll decide what to do after Juke gets some proper rest. Juke refuses until Nibiruun sides with Benwood. Mastuma joins in too, reminding Juke that slow and steady wins the race. Reluctantly, Juke agrees. Later, while trying to sleep, Juke remembers something Nibiruun said: all dungeons are connected through achromatic darkness. Suddenly struck with an idea, he bolts out of bed. Rain senses something. Juke can't wait till morning. He wakes the prince, who had probably just fallen asleep. Mastuma says that it had better be a brilliant idea, and it is. Juke explains that they don't need to go back to Finis. Since all dungeons are connected, they can reach achromatic darkness through the Royal Mausoleum dungeon. Mastoma wonders if Juke hasn't already suffered enough there, but admits it's a good idea. They'll just need the Seeker's Compass to guide them. Juke says it's a 50-50 chance, so he'll go alone. It's dangerous, but his curse is a blessing. Mastoma trusts him and agrees to lend the compass, but he's against Juke sneaking off by himself. He advises Juke to consult with his wives before making such a serious decision. After all, if he's willing to risk his life for the mission, they might be willing to risk their lives to stay by his side. Then Mastoma glances behind Juke. Juke turns and sees Rain standing there with Majarna, looking far from pleased. She's been there for a while. Rain thanks Mastoma for talking sense into Juke since he doesn't have many friends to do so. Mastoma praises Juke's wives, saying they understand him better than anyone, and advises him to speak with them. Juke agrees to do that and thanks him before leaving with Rain. On the way home, he tries to talk, but Rain ignores him. Juke sighs and resorts to the one thing he knows will work, hugging her. It does. Rain softens and accepts his apology. He gently holds her face. When she asks what that's about, Juke admits he was scared he might die and just wanted to touch her. Rain doesn't mind, and Juke takes that as an invitation to take it further, and they have their first kiss. Rain starts glowing with love. Just kidding, she's being possessed by Juke's curse. She feels it and pulls away. They brush it off as nothing and head home. The next morning, Clover holds a meeting. Juke lays out his plan and asks for their thoughts. Silk tells him he's taking too much on himself as usual. She doesn't support it, nor do Marina and Nene. They all insist on following him. Nibiruun and Jamie join their side. Juke tries to talk them out of it, but Marina's not having it. Silk accuses him of underestimating them, assuming they're not capable enough. Juke denies it, saying they've grown into skilled adventurers. Silk agrees and says that's exactly why they'll go with him, wherever he goes. Juke finally gives up arguing and explains the plan in full. Then a man arrives with a message. Mastoma requires Juke's presence at the guild. At the guild, Mastoma informs them that Rafuma is on the move, headed straight for the Royal Mausoleum. He claimed the dungeon was just a monster nest and bragged he'd stomp it out. Bodeman activates a streaming device to monitor the situation. What do they see? Rafuma's men getting demolished by monsters, and Rafuma running away like the coward he is. And because he has the IQ of Moana's chicken Hey, he sprints straight toward the Royal Mausoleum. Bodeman loses sight of him after he leaves the streaming range. Mastoma says they need to tighten security. Once monsters develop a taste for humans, they'll come hunting for more. Juke agrees and adds that they need to move fast. Silk agrees too, though there's barely time to make a plan. Benwood remains skeptical. Then the stream picks Rafuma up again. Rose tumbling like a total loser until he slams his head against a black wall. Everyone watches closely. Suddenly, Rafuma morphs into a shadow stalker and walks right into Tenebrae. That's when it hits them. Shadow stalkers are humans who've turned, and that's what happens when one makes contact with Tenebrae. Well, at least Rafuma was useful for something. Juke says he can't take his ladies to a place like that. The mood drops to 0 until the door swings open, and guess who walks in? Saga, Juke's uncle. The man strolls in, expecting smiles and hugs after disappearing for years, looking like he hasn't aged a single day. Juke immediately demands to know where he's been, and Benwood presses him on why he abandoned them. Saga waves it off, saying they'll talk Yuke later. Instead, he compliments Silk, impressed that his nephew managed to bag such a beauty. He asks if Yuke treats her well, and Silk confirms he does. Mastoma, slightly confused, asks who this guy is. Saga introduces himself, and Mastoma returns the courtesy. Saga says he's glad Yuke has a friend like him. Benwood tries to push for more answers, but Saga sidesteps again, just says he had some things going on. Still, he kept his word and came back. He's here because of the Abyss Gate situation, though he admits he can't handle it alone. Later, Saga pulls Yuke aside for a private talk. They catch up, and Saga teases him about the girls before things get serious. He can sense that Yuke carries the mark, what he calls stigmata. It's a kind of identity across worlds, protecting its bearer. That's how Yuke survived the achromatic darkness. Saga mentions sensing the same thing on Rain, and Yuke realizes that must have happened when they kissed. They return to Yuke's mansion to share the news. If the girls receive the stigmata from Yuke, they'll be immune to Tenebrae. The girls agree to it, insisting on following him into the achromatic darkness. Saga warns them they might not make it back, but Nibiruun speaks up for everyone, saying that they trust Yuke completely and won't regret whatever happens. Saga feels proud of them and even more of his nephew. The next day, everyone gets ready to move out. Saga double-checks that Yuke has given the stigmata to the girls. He has, everyone except Nibiruun. Yuke says she doesn't need it since she's already a priestess, but come on, we all know the real reason. Must have been one fun night handing out stigmata through kisses. For the mission, Saga is to return to Finis with Benwood and enter the achromatic darkness. He's got a teleportation artifact, but it can only transport 2 people. He apologizes to Yuke for burdening him with such a heavy task. All he ever wanted was for his nephew to live a happy life, but Yuke insists it's his choice. Saga tells him he doesn't have to sacrifice himself, but that he's counting on him. Yuke thanks him for everything, for teaching him what it means to be an adventurer. They part ways with a promise to meet again at the Abyss Gate and save their world together. Yuke and Mastoma wish each other luck. Mastoma's mission is to evacuate Rajo. He gives the Seeker's Compass to Rain and offers a brief apology to Yuke before hugging her. Rain promises she'll return and have tea with the couple. Bodeman vows to personally oversee Clover's livestream. He wishes them luck, and off they go. When they finally reach the entrance, the team stands together, pumped and ready to begin the mission. Yuke is still actually worried about his members, but they try to assure him that they'll be fine. Silk asks Biblion to use its future prediction. It does and reports back to her. Silk then tells Yuke that there's no future where they turn into shadow stalkers, which gives him some relief. Jamie casts a physical enchantment spell on everyone, and Yuke replenishes their mana. They hold hands as a group and enter Tenebrae together. Camelot starts streaming while everyone back in town watches. The Seeker's Compass points in the direction of the Abyss Gate, and Rain takes the lead with the others following behind. Yuke explains that they're already inside achromatic darkness, and if they picture their destination clearly and focus on it, they should arrive in Finis. Suddenly, a strange feeling sweeps over them. The party braces for battle, only to realize it's just a shift in location. The new location looks like Death Valley, though Yuke can't tell if it's from the past or the future. Nene goes ahead to scout. Meanwhile, Yuke asks Jamie and Rain to use their telescope eye to scan the area. He lifts Rain to give her a better view. Jamie doesn't appreciate them flirting in a life or death situation, but Yuke insists he's just helping her hike. Silk explains that the two are just always like that. Rain, on the other hand, is enjoying it too much. Her Delulu mind is probably picturing it as a romantic moment. Jamie lets it slide and uses a flying spell to elevate herself. There are no enemies in sight. Nene returns with bad news. Shadow stalkers are roaming around the royal mausoleum. Yuke says they should get closer to observe first. Marina gets scared again. Now that she knows shadow stalkers were once human, she doesn't feel comfortable hurting them. Yuke comforts her, saying that those people probably hate being shadow stalkers and hurting humans. She feels a lot better and they move on. They stop briefly to plan how to get into the dungeon. Jamie suggests creating a diversion and Yuke agrees. It's a smart move. He recalls their last encounter with the shadow stalkers. The shadow stalkers ignored everyone else and focused only on Simon. He guesses they were reacting to the curse he had placed on him. If that's the case, his stigmata might work the same way. So he volunteers to act as bait. Yuke approaches the dungeon but stops at a distance. Silk signals that everyone is in position and Yuke makes his move. He summons a curse spell that lures the shadow stalkers toward him, but just as they reach him, he vanishes, leaving only a talisman behind. It turns out that it was just an illusion of him. They successfully enter the royal mausoleum. Yuke instructs Jamie and Silk to monitor the flow of spirits and mana, and tells Marina to keep runes safe. Rain continues to use the Seeker's Compass to guide them forward. Before they turn the next corner, Yuke warns everyone to be careful. To his surprise, the girls laugh. Silk teases that he's too uptight. She says they are about to achieve their dream, so it's actually great. She tells him to just say the usual, and Yuke does, have fun, but be careful. As they advance, each girl uses her power to delete the shadow stalkers. Marina finishes off the last group, and Yuke thinks it's over, but Silk says it's not. Just then, another shadow stalker appears. It's Rafuma. Yuke tries to reason with him, but of course, it doesn't work. Yuke decides to fight. As instructed, Marina strikes first, followed by Silk and Nene, and Marina lands the final blow, defeating Rafuma. They complete the floor and move on. Yuke is uncertain of what lies ahead. The teleportation happens again, and their surroundings shift. Now they're at the pub in Finis. Yuke explains that it's still within a dungeon, just a fragment of someone's memory or wish, but they've successfully made it from the royal mausoleum to Finis. The pub looks normal, just adventurers hanging out, but Nibiru and Rain can sense that the people there are actually shadow stalkers. Still, they have to pass through. The compass points to the exit. Juke spots Thunderpike having fun, a scene he once longed for. He brushes it off. They have somewhere to be. The plan is simple: split up and walk calmly toward the front door. If this place is truly like the Finney's pub, no one will attack them since weapons and magic are banned. Jamie covers her hair while Juke puts on his cloak so they won't be recognized by their doubles. Everything goes smoothly. Nini, Rain, and Marina are the first to make it out. Then Juke hears his other self announce that he's leaving Thunderpike. He pauses, but the other Juke laughs it off as a joke, and everyone joins in. The other Thunderpike members talk about how they'd be doomed without him. Even Simon admits they wouldn't have made it this far without Juke. Juke is surprised to hear that but keeps walking. Then Simon notices him and tells him to stop. Juke signals to Silk that it's fine, so she goes ahead. Without turning around, Juke asks what Simon wants. Simon comments on his coat, recognizing it as a high-quality red mage artifact, and asks where he got it. The other Juke tries to stop him from being rude by questioning where an adventurer found his loot, but Simon insists he just thought it would suit Juke. The real Juke says it's fine and tells him he found it on the 10th floor of a dungeon. Barry is impressed and says they might try to get one too. Simon thanks him and asks his name. Juke introduces himself as Warlock. Simon introduces himself too, saying he's a beginner adventurer but will reach rank A someday. The others laugh at his big dream, but Simon doesn't mind. He says they have to make it to rank A if they ever want to go to the Abyss Gate with Juke. It's their party's dream. Juke silently wishes them well and walks out, finally finding the closure he'd been seeking. Juke meets his team outside. They ask how Thunderpike was, and he says they were a good bunch. Jamie says that the Juke over there seemed happy. She assumes that there's another universe where they are happy in Thunderpike, but she still prefers where they are now. Juke agrees. After all, he's taking on the Abyss Gate with the best party he could ever dream of. Their next destination is the Finney's Adventurers Guild. The goal is to enter the great cave beneath it, the gateway to achromatic darkness. The Seeker's compass confirms that the Abyss Gate is below them. Juke assumes everyone in the city is a shadow stalker and warns his friends to stay sharp. Nine, as usual, takes the lead. They reach the guild and are making their way toward the cave entrance when Mamar suddenly appears. She's thrilled to see them, but they instantly suspect she's a shadow stalker. Juke asks her to let them through, though he's clearly ready to fight. To everyone's surprise, she opens the door. Nibiru and Rain confirm she's the real Mamar. She had already taken out her shadow clone. She informs Juke that Benwood and Saga are already inside the dungeon, and her mission was to clear the way for Clover to enter. Together, they descend into the real adventure. Inside the dungeon, Benwood is making use of those fists again. Bet it feels good. Mamar arrives with Clover. Maniela is there too, but Saga isn't. He went ahead to make some preparations, leaving Benwood and Maniela to mop up the shadow stalkers. They regroup and dive into battle. Mamar unleashes her incredible skills, impressing Nene. Silk joins the fray, and soon more monsters pour in. The veterans are more than ready. Benwood the Tyrant Fist, Maniela the Mauler, and Mamar the Grey Hermit, a trio of living legends about to make shadow stalkers stew. Then another figure joins the fight, Moria, who turns out to be a former hero. Saga called him in, and he actually abandoned his own quest to help. You think he's some worn-out retiree, but nope, dude's a walking magic legend, clearing shadow monsters like his browser history. Rain is absolutely starstruck. The older guys take the fight, giving Clover a clear path to go deeper into the dungeon. Marina worries about Benwood and his team, but Juke assures her they'll be fine. They're legends for a reason. He tells Marina they need to focus on their mission. They advance floor by floor until they reach the gate to the first dungeon they ever tackled together. Their memories probably influenced that. Marina recalls how Juke soloed the steel crab last time and suggests they take it on together now. Juke agrees, and they start streaming the battle. Everyone goes all in. Rain and Jamie unleash their most dangerous spells. Juke fires off his signature combo attack. Before the monster can recover, Rain drops a thunderbolt, Jamie throws in a sandstorm, Silk lands a clean shot, and Nini stabs the creature in the eye, signs a few hand movements, and boom, explosion. Marina lands the finishing strike, and the steel crab is defeated. The poor guy probably had weekend plans, maybe a date with a lady crab, and now he's gone, unalived for trying to defend his home. Justice for him? Nah. How dare he stand in the hero's way? Juke wraps things up, taking stock as usual. Everyone's fine, even Nibiru, who finally steps out of hiding. And with that, the team continues to move forward. The next floor feels strange. Juke says they must be getting close. Nibiru senses another world seeping in. Juke asks everyone to be careful, but before they can decide what to do next, Tenebris suddenly appears and swallows Juke. Rain grabs him, and it takes her too. The girls panic, but Biblian whispers something to Silk, and she tells everyone to keep moving. She assures them they'll see Juke and Rain again, and that they should continue the mission like Juke would want them to. Juke falls into a void that soon morphs into his village. Then he realizes he's a boy again. He sees his mom and is still trying to take everything in when the atmosphere turns dark and windy. Juke knows what's coming and tries to run with her, but Tenebrae is faster. It catches his mom, and he watches helplessly as she turns into a shadow stalker and is swallowed by the darkness. A shadow hand grabs his leg, pulling him into the dark and slowly turning him, but another hand grabs him and yanks him free. It's Rain. Her voice snaps him back, and suddenly he's whole again, back in the void. Rain helps him calm down, relieved he didn't turn. Using the Seeker's compass, she leads them toward the Abyss Gate. They can feel their teammates' presence nearby. As they walk, Rain notices the worry in Yuke's face. When she asks what's wrong, he refuses to tell her what it is. He's afraid of losing the girls and the life he has now. Rain decides not to push it, and they keep moving. The others are resting when Nine spots Rain and Yuke approaching. Everyone is thrilled they're back. Marina, as always, is very expressive about it. Saga's there too. Yuke tells them that Rain saved him. Saga thinks that if the achromatic darkness tried to get rid of Yuke, it must see him as a threat. He's proud of that. They turn to the massive door, the Abyss Gate. Its aura is heavy and menacing. The group decides to rest before facing it. Saga notices Yuke's unease. He suspects Yuke hasn't told the girls what he should have, but Yuke insists he doesn't want to drag them into it. Saga reminds him that they want to be dragged into it, but when Yuke doesn't budge, he lets it go. He says that he might have been popular with women, but none were ever willing to follow him into hell. Yuke is lucky. Soon, everyone's rested and ready to go into the abyss. Yuke tells Cameron to start streaming. The girls are scared. It feels far worse than they imagined. Yuke says it's like facing the final boss. Saga agrees. Still, they begin heading towards it. Navarrone's already in priestess mode. Before we continue, you're probably wondering what secret Yuke's been keeping. Well, back when he spoke with Saga, Saga told him something crucial about the Abyss Gate. Someone has to close it from the inside, and whoever does might never return. Saga volunteered to go first, with Yuke following second. Yuke agreed. Then, out of nowhere, Nibiruun appeared in priestess mode and declared she'd go third. Now that you know, let's head back to the abyss. The gigantic door isn't actually the Abyss Gate itself, it's the seal that Saga and the other adventurers used to keep it contained. Saga explains that the world has been under culling for a long time. Dungeons everywhere went berserk. Stampedes became frequent, and Yuke's hometown was the first to be swallowed by Tenebrae. Yuke remembers that day and how Saga saved him. Saga apologizes for dragging him into the life of an adventurer and for leading him here, but he needs Yuke's help. Only someone who's been touched by the other side can defeat what's coming. Then, Saga breaks the seal, revealing a dragon, the Abyss Gate's true form, the culling itself. The other world's corruption brought through achromatic darkness. The dragon breaks free from its chains and the girls brace for battle. Jamie casts physical enhancement. Yuke replenishes their mana, and the dragon spits out some kind of goo that morphs into giant termites. Saga says they devour worlds and are ridiculously tough. Clover readies for combat. Rain and Jamie begin summoning spells. Yuke gives orders. Silk should distract and slow the termites down, Nine should seek and destroy, and Marina should watch for the right moment to strike. Saga jokes about being left out but quickly adds that he'll just do whatever he wants anyway. He tells Yuke to handle the dragon because only he can. The fight erupts and the termites are no joke. Yuke helps Nene take one down, and she realizes their weakness. They're like armored soldiers, so she just has to aim for the gaps. Marina takes note and eliminates a few herself. Yuke is focused on directing everyone, unaware of a sneak attack, until Silk shoves him aside and takes the hit instead. She's badly hurt. Biblion has warned her that the dragon would unleash an invisible strike. Yuke thanks her, and Rain rushes to heal her. Furious, Yuke prepares to counterattack. Saga holds off the termites and urges him to end the dragon. It attacks, but Nibiruun steps in, blocking it with her power of wish. She tells Yuke to focus on offense while she and the others handle defense. Everyone agrees, urging him to go all out. As Yuke channels his massive spell, the dragon keeps attacking until Nibiruun is exhausted. Yuke is so focused that he doesn't notice another attack coming at the girls. Saga jumps in and blocks it with his light shield, but the force is too much that it breaks through his shield and starts consuming him. However, Saga still trusts that Yuke can finish it, so he doesn't give up. Nene and Marina take out any termites closing in on Yuke. Finally, Yuke's spell completes. He fires his grade 5 magic prismatic missile straight into the dragon's mouth. The blast tears through it completely, the curse eating away at every fragment. Even the termites crumble, unable to survive, and whenever new ones are born, they get destroyed immediately. The dragon is defeated, and a door appears where it was. Yuke praises his team. They rush to Saga, who, though near death, is proud of his nephew. He tells Yuke not to cry and apologizes, saying Yuke will now have to close the gate. Yuke accepts. Saga fades away, leaving everyone heartbroken. They soon move on, facing the Abyss Gate itself, which is a surprisingly beautiful sight. Marina cheers that they've achieved their dream. Nine congratulates Yuke, but Silk wonders if another world lies beyond. Yuke replies that there are infinite worlds out there. He declares the mission accomplished. They all hug him in celebration. After a moment, Yuke says it's time to handle the final task, closing the gate. They assume Tenebrae and the outside world has vanished with the dragon's defeat. Marina asks if the world is safe now, and Yuke says it is, or will be once he closes the Abyss Gate. Jamie asks how they'll close it, and Yuke explains that it has to be done from the other side. The girls instantly understand. He plans to use his scroll of exit to send them back to the surface. They beg him not to, but his mind is made up. Silk suggests they all go in together and use the scroll to escape as one, but Yuke refuses. No one knows what's beyond that gate, and he won't risk their lives. He apologizes for abandoning them. Marina suggests retreating for the meantime and returning with a plan, and Silk agrees, insisting there must be another way, but Yuke says there isn't. Saga searched for years, found nothing, and finally chose to rely on him. He pleads for their understanding. Rain tries to go with him, the others joining in, all begging to go with him. Yuke feels blessed to have them, but says they mean too much for him to let them throw their lives away. Through tears, he activates the scroll of exit, but just as it's about to work, Nibiruun uses her her power of wish. Juke and the others appear outside except Nibiruun. She's on the livestream screen, smiling. She wished for all of them to return safely to Finny's. Juke panics, insisting it's his responsibility to close the Abyss Gate, not hers. Nibiruun apologizes for jumping the line. She says she's happy knowing they'll live happily ever after. Silk and Marina scold her as if that could stop her. She thanks them for everything, thanks Nina for the fun they had, tells Jamie she still wanted that amusement park trip, and thanks Rain for all the good times. She says if she's ever reborn, she'd love to be an author, to go on countless adventures and write stories that bring excitement to others. She smiles one last time, says goodbye, and steps through the Abyss Gate. The camera feed cuts out and camera returns. Clover's members break down crying. The audience sadly watches their heroes in tears. But guess what, guys? Rain tells everyone to stay positive. She says Nibiruun made her choice with her own free will and resolve. Hold on, wasn't that the same free will she refused to let Juke have? Now suddenly, it's, we must respect her decision, please. She's probably just thinking, less competition for me, and Juke foolishly agrees. Couldn't even mourn for 10 minutes. Disappointing. Much later, the party is traveling aboard in a flying ship. Silk serves Juke tea as they talk about his journaling. After returning from the achromatic dungeon, they were celebrated as heroes, given medals, and invited to endless meetings. Exhausting stuff. Juke finally laid his uncle to rest and caught up with Mastoma, who apparently has a real shot at being the next king. Juke is glad he was able to be of help to him. Silk reminds him that he wasn't just helping, he defeated the dungeon. Oh, and Silk? She's now a dungeon count. But before she's officially granted her noble title in another land, they have to consult her people. That's where they're headed now. It's also an excuse to take a vacation. Let's be real, they all needed it. Meanwhile, Rain still carries the Seeker's compass. It's pointing toward Nibiruun, proof that she might be alive in another world. Juke is relieved. However, he is worried about what he can do for everyone to be happy like Nibiruun wanted. Rain takes the initiative and kisses him. He smiles and she points out that they are happy. She gives him a hug too. The other girls come out and aren't pleased by the sight. They think it's unfair, but Rain claims she's number one. In a few minutes, everyone is calm and Juke addresses them. They are ready to see Silk's homeland together.